I'll ask. Good morning, everyone. I hereby call the Board of Governors meeting to order on this Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. And before we commence, I'll ask Andrea to provide a brief overview of the meeting procedures and protocols. We'll give everyone a chance to get settled in Sacramento. Please pause.
We're going to be getting started here pretty quick, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you, Bill.
We're going to be getting started here pretty quick, everyone.
Andrea, how are you doing in Sacramento? Andrea?
Andrea, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Hildy, this is Boardroom. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Is Andrea's audio okay?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's give that another shot, shall we? Good morning, everyone. I hereby call the Board of Governors meeting to order on this Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. Before we commence, I'll ask Andrea to provide a brief overview of the meeting procedures and protocols.
Welcome to the July 22nd, 2025 Board of Governors meeting. To access today's agenda, please visit our website at www.ccco.edu. Navigate to the About Us tab. Select Board of Governors from the drop-down menu and then click Meeting, Schedule, Minutes, and Agendas. From there, you'll find the agenda link in blue. Members of the public may comment on a specific item or during the public forum. In-person attendees must complete a written card request available at the board liaison desk. Virtual attendees may use the raise hand feature on the streaming platform. We'll begin with public comments from in-person participants in the following order: Sacramento, Denver, Columbus, Rialto, and New Haven. After that, we'll hear from virtual participants. After each item, individuals will be called to address the board in the order requests were received. A quick reminder that live closed captioning is available. To enable, click the CC icon at the bottom of your screen. This concludes my announcements, and I will turn it over to President Aguinaldo to get us started.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Would you please call the roll for us?
Absolutely. Love Adu. Hildegard B. Aguinaldo.
Present.
Adrian C. Brown.
Present.
Lillian Corral.
Present.
Ricardo de la Fuente.
Aye. Present.
Tom Epstein.
Here.
Pamela Haynes.
Here.
Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis.
Present.
Jennifer L. Perry.
Present.
Bill Rawlings.
Present.
Joseph R. Williams.
Here.
Madam President, quorum is established.
Thank you very much, Andrea. It is at this time that I would like to request Member Corral lead us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Member Corral, the floor is yours.
Thank you. All rise. Please face the flag and raise your hand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Member Corral. Before we begin, I'd like to note that there will be no closed session held for today's meeting. We will proceed directly with an open session agenda. The first item is my president's report. So welcome everyone to this board meeting, and we are joining you from almost every time zone. And thank you to the board members for making this work so that we can attend to this important meeting. I'll focus the bulk of my comments on our Vision 2030 refresh. So I wanted to use this time and space to recognize a few things going on with our board members. First, I wanted to recognize our outgoing board member, Mary Sellis. It has been a privilege to serve alongside Mary Sellis on the Board of Governors. Mary brought a lifetime of public service experience to our work, from her leadership as mayor of Chula Vista, to her time in the state assembly, to her deep roots in community health and economic development. That experience brought invaluable perspective to our shared mission. Mary's passion for expanding opportunities for low-income adults, advancing career education, and strengthening college and career pathways has been evident throughout her service. She's been a strong advocate for the Community College Baccalaureate and for ensuring that career education remains central to our system's promise of economic mobility. Her insights have been especially valuable as we've advanced Vision 2030, ensuring that our system is aligned with California's evolving workforce needs while expanding access for students of all backgrounds. Her expertise has strengthened our conversations around career education, career development, and preparing students for the jobs of today and tomorrow. On behalf of the board, we thank Mary for her leadership, her dedication to California students, and her enduring commitment to public service. Her contributions have made a lasting impact, and we wish her continued success and fulfillment in all that comes next. I'd also like to welcome a new board member, Lillian Corral. We are excited to welcome board member Corral of San Marino to the board. Lillian brings a deep background in civic tech, policy, and equity. She currently leads technology and democracy programs at New America. Previously, she served as Chief Data Officer for LA Mayor Eric Garcetti and led national tech and strategy efforts at the Knight Foundation. Lillian also helped build 211 California and worked in community-based policy roles across LA County. She holds degrees from UCLA and UC Irvine. We're lucky to have her experience and perspective at the table. Lillian, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, President Aguinaldo. I'd like to start by just saying I'm truly honored to join this board, excited to begin this journey with all of you. I'm grateful to the governor and to Chancellor Christian for the opportunity to serve. As you mentioned, really what brings me to the work is fairly personal. I'm an immigrant, I'm a mom of 2 kids, and I'm really committed to this time of great technological shifts and policy change that we are seeing, and working with you to ensure that our community college system really creates an opportunity for students to thrive, to step into greater opportunities, and to really be the engines of innovation that we know Californians are. So excited to be here with you all.
We're very excited that you're here with us, Board Member Corral. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And finally, I'd like to acknowledge a few personal developments on our board. We have the great fortune of welcoming 3 new babies to our Board of Governors family. The first one is from Member De La Fuente. Ricardo, if you want to tell us your baby's name and a little bit more detail, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, so Ricardo Jr. was born June 24th, and we're blessed to have this beautiful baby boy. I have to say every second is magical, and I really feel something special, and I guess it's the most important role is being a father. So first time, my wife and baby are doing fantastic, and I hope to bring him along in one of our Southern California meetings. He's absolutely adorable, and it really puts me with a big sense of purpose, and it's truly magical. Thank you for the appreciation and recognition. I hope him to meet his aunties and uncles soon.
We hope to meet him as well. In addition, our board member Blas Villalobos welcomed a new addition to his family. He's not here, but I'm sure he'll say something about it when he returns. And finally, our board liaison, Christina Castro, also welcomed a little one. So we've had a lot of new additions since our last board meeting. I would say to keep it up, but I see that that's a little difficult. We have an abbreviated agenda today due to many of our board members, including me, joining remotely. So also as a reminder to accommodate the schedules of our presenters, we've adjusted the order of some agenda items to ensure that they could present earlier in the day. So now I'll turn it over to Chancellor Christian for her report.
Thank you. President Aguinaldo, I love the way you bring the spirit of community and family to our board meetings, and it really reflects what California community colleges are all about. So Board of Governors meeting days are always a big moment for the Chancellor's office. Preparation begins weeks in advance, reviewing materials, refining presentations, and coordinating with partners across the system. When the agenda goes live, final touches are made, and before we know it, the day is here. For the July 2025 board meeting, that's today's meeting, the big agenda item is the refresh of Vision 2030, the July 2025 edition. As President Aguinaldo started her tenure as president of the board, she was very clear with me in wanting to revisit Vision 2030. The work kicked off back in December with a flurry of meetings, emails, shared docs, and learning new phrases like version control of documents. In fact, Rowena and I were talking about that just a few days ago. And from the start, we had the engagement from Consultation Council, the Board of Governors, and the Chancellor's office. Gary, I'll have you take down the slide deck for now, and then we'll go into the slide deck a little later. At the helm of it all is our fearless leader, Deputy Chancellor Rowena Tominang, calmly moving the work. And calmly is a big, big word here. And then came Ginny May, our editor. Ginny and I had most of our conversations at 6 a.m. or sometime between running errands and other family obligations over the weekend. Behind the scenes, working their quiet magic on the look and feel of the document and the soon-to-be released website were Paige Marla-Dorr and Brian Miller from the Foundation. I can't wait for the release of the website, by the way. I'm so proud of the work, and this is to the whole system and to our Board of Governors, and I'm so happy to team up with such an amazing group of colleagues. And you can see all of them in blue today, or most of them in blue today. More on that later. It's agenda item number 4.2. Since we last met, the federal landscape continues to be active, keeping concern at our college campuses heightened. On July 14th, the U.S. Supreme Court gave the green light for the Department of Education to lay off nearly 40% of its workforce. That's 1,400 employees gone. The decision also opens the door for core education responsibilities like civil rights enforcement, financial aid, adult education to be moved to other federal agencies. Key units like the Office of Civil Rights, Federal Student Aid, and the Institute of Education Sciences have been impacted. Regional OCR offices, including the one in San Francisco, have closed, raising concerns about delays in Title IX enforcement and broader civil rights protections. The Federal Student Aid Office has already seen disruptions contributing to delays in FAFSA processing and student support, especially for students from mixed status families. The Office of English Language Acquisition has been eliminated altogether. Separately, the U.S. Department of Education recently reinterpreted a 1996 act, now classifying Perkins CTE, the WIOA adult education and dual enrollment as, quote, federal public benefits. Now, I don't have Kathy here to interpret all of it, so let me translate in the words I use. So the translation goes this way. Undocumented students may now face new hurdles to access unless they meet narrowly defined eligibility criteria. It has not been enforced yet. Add in the indefinite withholding of the $7 billion in education funding, threats to programs like CAMP that support migrant students, and changes to bond hearings for undocumented communities. Well, board members, you can see that our colleges are dealing with a lot. Despite these developments, our community colleges have been steady, absolutely steady in supporting our students. It is just quite remarkable. The Chancellor's Office, in fact, all of us continue to track these issues, particularly our points of contact are Chris Ferguson and Kathy Lynch. Now, let me move on to the budget news. So now let's start with the slide deck, Gary. So when Gary pulls up the slide, you will see the main highlights on the budget front. The legislature and the governor have approved the following. You know, the funny thing is I can't see it with my, let me see if I've got my notes here. Sorry, so hold on just a second. Let me pull up the PowerPoint here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so you can see on the slide that we have $239 million, which was additional funding for the current budget year, that's 24-25, and next year, 25-26, to support a 2.35% enrollment growth. Now, this budget has been done with deferrals of $408 million from 25-26 to the 26-27 year. But let me talk about some key investments made by the governor and the legislature. And you must think about it in the context of the economic situation that the governor had announced during the May revise. And yet we have funding of $12 million one time for the Common Cloud. We have $10 million ongoing for our Rising Scholars Program. We have $5 million ongoing and $15 million one time to expand credit for prior learning. We have $25 million to establish the Career Passport. It's been given to the community colleges working with the governor's office and with our partners in Cradle to Career to establish the concept and the implementation of a Career Passport. $6.6 million one time in e-transcripts, California. Just imagine these investments during this economic time. There's so much confidence in the California community colleges. Sort of when we were into the budget process, the colleges and our CEOs working with the staff at the Chancellor's Office advocated for and secured 60 million one-time in student support block grants. And this is to really help our colleges with the shifting landscape that we're dealing with. 20 million one-time in emergency student financial aid, 15 million one-time in Dreamer resource liaisons, 5.1 million one-time in financial aid outreach. This has been remarkable. And last but not least, we had made a proposal in the LA recovery to support our community colleges in the LA area to help with accelerating workforce development. And that was also funded, which was a last minute push from our office. So it's truly remarkable that we were able to accomplish what we have been able to in this budget. So now let me move on to, and we can take down the slide, to a fraud update. Since the May 2025 Board of Governors meeting, the Chancellor's Office launched a multi-layered strategy to tackle fraud in applications, enrollment, and financial aid. As bad actors get craftier, sometimes using AI, sometimes using humans, and sometimes a little bit of both, we are meeting them with intelligence, scalable tools designed to protect both our students and our institutions. In June, the CCC Tech Center rolled out a pilot of an AI-powered spam filter that flags high-risk accounts based on patterns across the system. This new tool is designed to complement additional fraud prevention measures within CCC Apply. As of July 1st, LightLeap AI was made available to all California community colleges. This tool, incubated through the Digital Center, which you established, members of the Board of Governors, it continuously detects and learns from fraud patterns and enables colleges to spot shady patterns across campuses. Over 50 colleges are already live or on their way, with many more queued up. I mean, just imagine the quickness with which we moved since the May meeting. I want to recognize our partnership with the College Buys program in the foundation for really accelerating the expansion of this tool. We're also working with the Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, to integrate identity verification into CCC Apply, hopefully at no cost to the system and to the colleges, because nothing says you're in like clearing DMV validation. And I want to say that, you know, when Chris was telling me about this new MOU that we're developing with the DMV, I was, you know, super excited because of the magnitude and scope of the DMV and us partnering with them. So it's just innovative work from our team. So now let me go back to the slides, and this comes to you from Paige. We have paraphernalia, we have clothing, and here I have.
There you go. Yay!
We have clothing here for you, and you can buy it on the website. That has been helped. Our foundation and College Buys has helped us with it. And so thank you for making this happen. And to wrap up my comments, I always give you a sense of where I've been. So here are a few highlights through pictures. Gary, let's move to the next slide, and we'll quickly go through the slides. On June 4th, on the system-wide webinar, we presented the Program Pathways Mapper, an investment of $25 million from the governor and the legislature. And you can see here we're scaling up at the community colleges, 80 community colleges, but we're also partnering with the CSUs and the UCs, and our commitment to intersegmental partnership is tremendous. So great work from our Chancellor's Office. See Craig Hayward here. Thank you. Moving to the next slide. This is a great picture. I picked this picture out for you, Board of Governors. This is a selfie snapped by Chancellor Alberto Roman from LA Community College District. I was at Trade Tech, and if you know Trade Tech, this is a college that supports working Californians. These are your carpenters, your trades folks, your healthcare folks. And this was in the middle of when the ICE raids happened in LA, followed by the protests. And I could feel the sense and the impact during this graduation here. Great picture. Next slide. This is a great picture of the Rising Scholars graduation at the California. That's right. Let's give it up. The California Rehabilitation Center, it was at Norco. And again, invitation to all Board of Governors members to participate and also Consultation Council. Lieutenant Governor, we've got to get you in for one of these graduations. It's really tremendous what the state of California is investing in our Californians who are incarcerated. Since the picture has so many faces, I don't know if you can pick out, but on the left, you can see Jennifer Perry, and I can see, so help me out here. Is that Pam Haynes? Syria, you can see Bill Rawlings on the right. Pam Haynes over there. And you can see our Senate President and Vice President, our FAC ex-president, Wendy is there. So this is great. The Chancellor's Office, Gina, thank you so much, working with Chelsea. So Gina's plan is every spring and every fall, we're going to do a graduation and we're going to invite folks. So we want to make sure everyone gets an opportunity to experience this. So moving to the next slide. And this is my last slide, by the way. This is the Veterans Symposium. And it was my first attending as the Chancellor of the California Community Colleges. And I'm super, super excited for how Vision 2030 is so bold about our veterans agenda. The two primary areas of focus are credit for prior learning for veterans. And Sam tells me that by Veterans Day, November 11, 2025, all colleges are going to give all of our veterans, and this is the only state in the nation, going to recognize them with credit for military, for their basic military training. So we are sprinting to the finish line, which is November 11, 2025. And we're also focusing on mental health for all of our students with a focus on veterans. So this is our amazing team here, and the woman to my right, tall person, is our lead, Heather, that does tremendous work. So with that, Gary, you can take down the slide deck, and it concludes my remarks, and I turn it over to our president.
Thank you very much, Chancellor. There's always so much going on with our system and great photos as always. Board, we're going to move to our consent calendar, which is section 3. Do we have any board comments?
Yes,
Member Epstein does.
you'd be disappointed if I didn't speak on this. On the contracts, there were 3 of the contracts, numbers 1, 2, and 6.
Member Epstein, President Aguinaldo, that's an action item.
Oh,
That's not the consent. Thanks.
Tom got a little too excited. We're still on the approval of the May 2025 board meeting minutes. If there are any board comments on the meeting minutes, I'd take them now.
Move approval.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Jen. Andrea, are you taking public comments from each of the teleconference locations, or would you like me to steer through that?
I can take them from all the locations if you'd like.
Yeah, let's do that.
Perfect. The consent calendar is now open for public comment. For virtual attendees, please use the raised hand feature. If you are calling in, press *9. We will begin with in-person public comments and then move on to virtual comments. You will have 2 minutes. We do not have any comments in Sacramento, so I will reach over to President Aguinaldo to see if you have any public comments.
There are no public comments here in Denver.
Thank you. Member Brown?
No public comments in Ohio.
Thank you. Member Williams? Are there any public comments, Member Williams?
If I can find my mute button, there are no public comments.
Thank you. Member De La Fuente?
No public comments here either, Connecticut.
Perfect. And there are no virtual comments at this time.
Thank you very much, Andrea. We have our motion from Haynes, our second from Perry. Andrea, would you call a roll, please?
Love Adu,
Aye.
Hildegard B. Aguinaldo,
Aye.
Adrian C. Brown,
Aye.
Lillian Corral,
Aye.
Ricardo de la Fuente,
Aye.
Tom Epstein,
Aye.
Pamela Haynes,
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis,
Aye.
Jennifer Perry,
Aye.
Bill Rawlings,
Aye.
Joseph R. Williams.
Aye.
Madam President, the motion has passed.
Thank you very much, Andrea. All right, team, we are going to take an item out of order. We are going to take item 4.2 first, and that's on Vision 2030, the July 2025 edition. I will kick it over to Chancellor Christian to get us started.
I'm just going to briefly mention how this item is going to flow, and then we'll get into the actual presentation. So the way we have organized the presentation is in like TED Talk style. After President Aguinaldo makes her opening remarks, I'm going to go ahead and read out the letter to Californians. And that's about 4.5 minutes. And then we're going to do a 2-minute TED Talk style that would be led by Deputy Chancellor Robina Tominang. And the whole presentation, it's going to be quick, but it's substantive. So it's going to take about 35 minutes, and then we go into board member comments, and then hopefully an action item. So I just wanted to give sort of the orientation. So board members, as we're going through the presentation, if you can jot down the areas that you want to ask questions or comment, because we'll do that after the presentation. We just didn't want to miss the rhythm of the presentation. So with that, I'll turn it to President Aguinaldo to start the unveiling of Vision 2030, the July 2025 edition.
Thank you, Chancellor Christian. I absolutely love that drum roll. When I assumed this role in January, we immediately began turning our attention to the next chapter of Vision 2030. From the start, the board has been deeply committed to ensuring that the vision guiding our system remains current, ambitious, and responsive to the needs of Californians. The original plan laid a strong foundation, but it was never meant to be static. What you see in this July 2025 edition reflects months of thoughtful engagement across the Chancellor's office with faculty, students, staff, and leaders throughout the state. It builds on progress, but it also reflects forward thinking about where we must go next. This is a living vision. It is shaped by data and collaboration, and it will continue to evolve as the needs of our communities shift. The board embraces that. We are proud to support a plan that centers equity, drives innovation, and reinforces our mission to serve all of our students, no matter their background, goals, or life circumstances. Back in February, the board spent a full day together in beautiful Santa Barbara, rolling up our sleeves and digging into what the refresh of Vision 2030 should look like. It was not a routine meeting. It was an opportunity to think together, and every topic was fair game. We were very fortunate to have a few expert speakers join us, and they gave us some great food for thought, helping us think differently and to push our ideas further. The energy in the room was absolutely wonderful. We wrestled with tough questions, surfaced bold ideas, and gave the Chancellor some solid direction to move the work forward. Chancellor Christian, you've truly assembled an all-star team, equal parts of brilliance and patience. It's like watching a symphony come together, except instead of violins and oboes, we had policy drafts, stakeholder feedback, and the occasional last-minute rewrite. I'm especially glad that our board members had the chance to see the document while it was still evolving, proof that great things can happen even while the paint is still drying. Ginny May deserves special thanks for her role as our in-house translator of complex ideas into the elegant language that became Vision 2030, the July 2025 edition. And Deputy Chancellor Tominang, thank you for steering the ship and keeping all of the pieces moving in the same direction. Herding content like that takes skill and practice. What a team and what a result. Together, we are advancing a vision rooted in purpose, strengthened by partnership, and aligned with the future of California. Back to you, Chancellor Christian.
So here is my letter to Californians introducing Vision 2030, the 2025 edition. Dear Californians, in July 2023, we presented to the Board of Governors Vision 2030, a roadmap for California community colleges. It was a call to action for our 116 colleges to lead with equity and excellence, act with urgency, and serve as a force for economic mobility, environmental stewardship, and community resilience. 2 years later, we are presenting Vision 2030, the July 2025 edition. We are not changing directions. We are recommitting to our shared 3 goals: equity in access, equity in success, and equity in support. While we are incorporating what we have learned over the past 18 months, we are clarifying our approach to innovation and sustainability. We are defining the infrastructure development and policy framework necessary to advance the ambitious goals. And we are expanding our plan to incorporate the challenges and opportunities emerging across our system, our state, and our nation. We have already begun to see the results of Vision 2030 with significant enrollment increases across the system, particularly in communities that have been historically underserved by higher education. Vision 2030 demands that no student feels disaffected, alienated, or left behind. At the heart is a reimagining of access, one that no longer waits for students to come to us. We meet learners where they are through partnerships with community-based organizations, labor, and industry. Our colleges are embedded in communities, honoring learning wherever it occurs, online, in the classroom, or on the job. The growing infrastructure for credit for prior learning, supporting veterans, apprentices, and workers with industry skills, is vital to unlocking opportunity and advancing economic mobility for California's working learners. Generative AI is changing how students learn, how faculty teach, and how colleges operate. The July 2025 edition calls on our colleges to fully engage with both the opportunities and the risks of AI, and to create structures that help students, help faculty, staff, and administrators thrive in a tech-enhanced world. Our human-centered principles prioritize data privacy, human oversight, partnerships that actively guard against algorithmic bias, and notifications to users when they are engaging with an AI tool. We are deepening our leadership in climate action by building pathways to the green economy and embedding sustainability into workforce development, campus operations, and infrastructure. From remote regions to urban centers, our colleges are well positioned to drive local solutions like the creation of microgrids for energy resilience. Our curriculum across disciplines must also reflect this moment. Students must graduate prepared to care for the planet and the communities they serve. Vision 2030, the July 2025 edition, invites all of us, students, faculty, staff, administrators, trustees, partners, and lawmakers, to re-engage with the work of building the most inclusive, future-focused, student-centered, and worker-centered system of higher education in the nation. Our greatest challenges enable us to do our greatest work. California is a global leader in innovation, and so are our community colleges. The world is watching what we do next. As California goes, so goes the nation. Thank you all for your continued commitment to our students, to our colleges, to our communities, our planet, and the future of California. Our time is now. Your Chancellor, Sonia Christian. With that, Dr. Tamanang, take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, Chancellor Christian, President Aguinaldo, Vice President Rawlings, our Board of Governors. I'm Rowena Tominang, Deputy Chancellor, and here with me I'm joined by Chris Ferguson, Executive Vice Chancellor, and Kathy Lynch, General Counsel. We have a list of speakers to unveil the 6 sections of Vision 2030, and Chris and Kathy are here to get us started. It's been a wonderful experience coordinating the refresh of Vision 2030 just a few months into my new role as Deputy Chancellor, under the keen and ambitious vision of our Chancellor, Sonia Christian, and all of you, our Board of Governors. I've known Sonia for a while now as a fellow president, and it's been such a joy to partner with her in this system work, as well as Chris Ferguson and Kathy Lynch and the rest of the internal team and our external stakeholders to work through this process. I want to recognize the contribution of Consultation Council, the past members and the current members to this work, and express my deep appreciation for their valuable insights and continued commitment to advancing our system goals of increasing with equity student access, student support, and student success. I want to also recognize the contributions of our Chancellor's Office executive team. It's been a pleasure to collaborate with colleagues, thought leaders, and innovators who are dedicated to realizing Vision 2030, supporting our 116 colleges and all Californians. I want to especially recognize the leadership of Aaron Larson and Sam Lee for their efforts to scale the bachelor's degree program and credit for prior learning. Allison Beer and Mia Keeley for their work with other state agency partners, such as the California Department of Social Services and the California Department of Health and Human Services, and Gary Adams, Linda Bermudez, Candice Lachoa, Cherie Fortin for their increasing workforce opportunities to advance socioeconomic mobility for our students and communities. And of course, Ginny May and Paige Marlett Dorr, thank you for the hours spent editing, revising, and developing the microsites for all of us to access Vision 2030 related work plans and concept papers. Thank you as well to Amy Smith, who has been supporting all of our demonstration projects. With more than 2.1 million students currently enrolled and $168 billion in annual economic impact to the state, our colleges are central to California's future educationally, economically, and environmentally. We are moving with urgency, as Chancellor Christian said, and also with excitement. After all, our time is now. And so with that, I will turn it over to Chris Ferguson.
Yeah, Chris Ferguson, Executive Vice Chancellor of Finance and Strategic Initiatives, and I'm excited to present this work to you, Board of Governors, just 9 months into my tenure at the Chancellor's office. I too have worked with Chancellor Christian in her capacity as a college president and district president, and cannot be happier to support this student-centered approach that is focused on equity and access, support, and success. I have been guiding the development of the infrastructure that is necessary to implement the bold goals and outcomes defined in Vision 2030, working with a team of talented individuals from our office and from the field. We have already begun moving quickly, efficiently, and effectively to support the Credit for Prior Learning Initiative, provide access to burden-free instructional materials, support the implementation of Program Pathways Mapper, implement the Common Cloud Data Platform, develop and implement career passports, and ensure our students, our systems serve authentic students and support the appropriate use of artificial intelligence. Vision 2030 will further our system's ability to pursue fiscal and programmatic policies that enable our students to have greater access to baccalaureate pathways, support our students' ability to obtain living wage jobs upon completion of their educational programs, advance the integration and teaching of new technologies and generative artificial intelligence, see that all high school students have access to dual enrollment course opportunities, support experienced adults accessing educational opportunities through our system, and enable successful educational outcomes for any Californian, regardless of how, when, or where they opt to access our system. Given the state's confidence in the California community colleges, this year's budget included investments of $12 million one-time to support the continued development of the Common Cloud data system, $15 million one-time and $5 million ongoing to support the Credit for Prior Learning initiative, and $25 million one-time to support the development of a career passport. I'd also like to thank Patricia Servin and our College Finance and Facilities Planning team, David O'Brien and Linda Vasquez, and our Government Relations team, and Ernest Shee and our Information Security Technology and Innovation team for their contribution toward the development of Vision 2030. Now I'd like to turn it over to Kathy Lynch.
Thank you and good morning. Kathy Lynch, General Counsel. I'm excited to be a part of this team and eager to play a role in something as meaningful and important as Vision 2030. When I was thinking about Vision 2030 last night, sort of sitting with it, I thought, this is really courageous and ambitious, because at base, it recognizes that along with our society and the world at large, the needs of our students and community undergo constant and rapid change. And that as leaders, we cannot do our jobs properly without continuously responding to current needs by reevaluating our efforts and embracing necessary change. Through the internal and external partnerships, the legal team, which includes the lawyers and non-lawyers as well, we will assist with implementing Vision 2030 by providing strategic guidance, managing legal risks, ensuring regulatory compliance, and overseeing all legal matters that affect the realization of Vision 2030. And finally, Vision 2030 is not static. It is a living, adaptive framework designed to support local design, community innovation, and statewide alignment. It promotes experimentation through demonstration projects, from nursing to rising scholars, to credit for prior learning, to apprenticeship pathways. Statewide work plans and disaggregated data will guide implementation and ensure accountability. And the Chancellor's Office is committed to cultivating strong partnerships, offering data, technical assistance, and student-centered thought leadership to build capacity and scale what works. As the introduction reminds us, as Sonia often tells us, our time is now. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Gina Brown, Vice Chancellor of Program Operations and System Initiatives. As we continue to advance the work of Vision 2030, I'm here to remind us that California community colleges are not just about serving students. We are transforming lives, families, and communities. We're removing long-standing barriers so that all students, including those who are first in their families to attend college, those impacted by the justice system, foster youth, working adults, really anyone, can access a higher education that sees them, supports them, and sets them up for real economic opportunity. As you will see on pages 8 and 9, through strategies like expanded dual enrollment, credit for prior learning, and targeted support for adult learners and justice-involved students, we're sending a clear message: college is for you. Even if no one in your family has gone before, even if you never thought it was possible, it is for you. And while very important, this work is more about degrees and data points. It's about building the foundation for California, where opportunity isn't reserved for the few, but extended to the many. When we create pathways to livable wages that enable home ownership and support family stability, we help students change not just their own lives, but begin to build generational wealth. These pathways are how we ensure every Californian, regardless of their background or starting point, has a chance to earn credentials that matter in today's economy and be a part of California's strong workforce. I'll turn it over to Carla.
Thank you. I'm Carla Grandy, Senior Advisor to the Chancellor on Climate Action. California community colleges are trusted, community-anchored institutions that often step up during crises, offering shelter, supplies, and services like COVID-19 vaccination clinics. Despite their reach and infrastructure, they are not formally part of the state's disaster response system. Vision 2030 offers an opportunity to change that. As climate-related emergencies increase, our colleges can serve as critical hubs for response and recovery. Formal designation would allow targeted investments in microgrids, resilient infrastructure, and programs that prepare students for disaster-related careers in logistics, healthcare, construction, and mental health. Programs like College Corps and California Service Corps could also mobilize students for civic service. With support, our colleges can be anchors of preparedness, resilience, and recovery. Vision 2030 places climate action at the heart of the California Community College's mission by advancing 4 key areas: facilities and operations, workforce development, curriculum integration, and community engagement. In January 2025, the Board of Governors adopted updated sustainability goals aiming for 100% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions and stronger integration of sustainable practices in transportation, construction, and procurement. Colleges are modernizing infrastructure to reduce emissions and build climate resilience. Workforce development efforts focus on preparing students for high-quality, green careers in clean energy, transportation, sustainable agriculture, and more, meeting labor market needs while advancing a low-carbon economy. Through curriculum integration, colleges are embedding climate literacy across disciplines, equipping students with the knowledge and skills to navigate and shape a rapidly changing world. Community engagement efforts center on local partnerships that support climate resilience and sustainability, positioning community colleges as trusted hubs for collaborative climate solutions in every region of California. And let me turn it over to John Hetz.
Good morning. I'm John Hetz, Executive Vice Chancellor for Research, Analytics, and Data, and I'm excited to be here to share some good news about our system outcomes for once. As you know, the California Community College's Vision 2030 centers on 3 core goals: equity and access, equity and success, and equity and support. Each is anchored by concrete equity-driven metrics to guide progress, to inform our interventions, and close persistent gaps across income, race, and ethnicity, and key target populations that are identified in Vision 2030. To expand access, Vision 2030 set key goals to restore enrollment to pre-pandemic levels or to increase it by 25%, whichever was greater. And our early results have been nothing short of inspiring. It's really exciting to be able to tell you about that for once after having shared all of the declines over the pandemic. The recovery has been faster and steeper across nearly every student group, and with remarkable gains, especially among dual enrollment students, foster youth, and justice impacted learners. All of these groups are already approaching the goals that we set for 2030, which is very exciting. The Vision 2030 success outcomes, completion, baccalaureate attainment, and workforce represent lagging indicators, and those are still being shaped by pandemic disruptions. However, the declines were not as steep as we feared based on the enrollment declines that we saw, and the recovery so far has exceeded expectation. Completion in particular is nearly back on track for our 30% growth goal. And looking at the indicators of baccalaureate attainment, ADT completions and transfers to four-year universities are now rebounding, though transfers have clearly been impacted by the declines in UC and CSU enrollment, and we'll be continuing to monitor that closely. Community college bachelor degrees remain flat, as do attaining a living wage. These represent key targets for our ongoing attention in order to meet our Vision 2030 goals. In contrast, the Vision 2030 equity and support outcomes are doing exceptionally well. Financial aid and unit efficiency are showing remarkable gains. Both Pell and Community College Promise Grant recipients have increased dramatically post-pandemic, already exceeding our 2030 targets, and unit reductions for ADTs continue to steadily decline year over year, building on the longstanding efforts of our system and the goals that the board has had for some time. In addition to the new microsite that you've heard about, our redesigned Data Vista dashboards now make these and many additional indicators more accessible and actionable statewide, supporting local goal setting as we've done regionally across the state, including a brand new dual enrollment dashboard that will be rolling out this week in beta in order for us to track the success of dual enrollment students specifically. We are also in the midst of preparing to launch a research and policy center to further accelerate insights and scale success, bringing together experts all across the country, evidence from our system, and innovative opportunities to harness the potential of AI to place our system, our colleges, and most importantly, our students squarely and rightfully in the center of the conversation about higher education nationally. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize my team, Associate Vice Chancellor Terrence Willett, and two of our data and research managers, Patty Sanders and Todd Hoig, who are excellently and quietly supporting all of the work that you're hearing about in the background to make sure that we understand what's happening in our system. Together, these early results reinforce the power of clear metrics and intentional design and strong guidance from the board. As we continue to scale progress across access, success, and support, Vision 2030's data infrastructure ensures that local efforts will remain informed, aligned, and accountable, driving equitable outcomes for students and the communities that we serve. And I will turn it now over to James.
Good morning. I'm James Todd, Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs. Vision 2030 outlines 3 strategic directions that will guide our system-wide transformation: equitable baccalaureate attainment, equitable workforce and economic development, and generative artificial intelligence and the future of learning. These directions are interconnected pillars that are designed to expand opportunity, strengthen regional economies, and prepare Californians for the opportunities of tomorrow. In California, a baccalaureate degree is more than a credential. It's a gateway to economic mobility, to personal agency, and a civic opportunity. And yet for too many of our students, especially those in rural, low-income, and historically marginalized communities, this gateway has been locked behind barriers that we can and we must dismantle. And so Vision 2030 calls us to act boldly. It embraces a both-and approach that values skills and degrees, short-term credentials and long-term opportunity. California community colleges are uniquely positioned to lead this work by building new on-ramps that meet learners where they are and take them further than they ever have before. The impact is real. A community college baccalaureate degree can increase a student's annual income by $12,000 to $28,000, a life-changing difference for individuals, for families, and entire communities. Degrees build resilience, not just resumes, and they offer protection in times of economic uncertainty and expand pathways into high-demand, high-wage careers. So we're doubling down on strengthening transfer and expanding our community college baccalaureate opportunities. Through AB 928 and AB 1111, we're ensuring that credits follow students within and beyond the California community college system and not the other way around. And through the expansion of California Community College Baccalaureate Degree Program, we're closing economic and geographic gaps, ensuring that place-bound and working learners have access to high-quality, affordable 4-year degrees without leaving their communities. We're also driving dual enrollment, supporting veterans and justice-impacted students, and honoring prior learning. Because a system that values equity must also value lived experience. We're investing in clear pathways, flexible scheduling, and inclusive design, and so that every learner from the high school to the workforce can see themselves in our system. And let me now turn it over to Tony.
Good morning. I am Anthony Cordova, aka Tony, Vice Chancellor of Workforce and Economic Development, also proud veteran of the United States Navy. Today, I want to share with you a little bit of the transformative role that California community colleges play in the shaping of the workforce and economic future. California's economy is the 4th largest in the nation, with a $4.1 trillion, and our 116 California community colleges serve as the primary pipeline for training workers in high-demand fields. We're not just educating students. We're building the skilled workforce that powers our state's economic engine. In high-demand sectors that drive California's competitive advantage includes healthcare, climate, STEM fields, and education. Our community colleges are meeting the moment. They're training nurses who are providing for our aging population, engineers who will build the infrastructure, technicians that will operate the facilities, and teachers that will be able to educate our future pipeline and next generation. What makes this system truly powerful is its accessibility. Community colleges open doors to economic mobility for students with all backgrounds, breaking down barriers that might otherwise prevent talented individuals from contributing to our state's success. These initiatives share a common thread, that is strategic partnerships. We're working with unions like United Domestic Workers and United Healthcare Workers, with employers across every sector, with our university partners to create programs that meet workers where they are. With this partnership, this is allowing us to expand our commitment to credit for prior learning and apprenticeship programs, which means adult learners can leverage their existing skills to accelerate their educational progress, continue to upskill, or obtain a level of higher education attainment, while continuing to earn a high wage living. We're breaking down barriers and building bridges to economic mobility. Our interdepartmental collaborative reflects our commitment to maximizing impact. When we work together across divisions, across sectors, across communities, we don't just train the workers, we're building futures, strengthening communities, and expanding those opportunities. I'd now like to turn it over to Don.
Thank you, Tony. Good morning. I'm Don Dave Rougeau, Senior Advisor to the Chancellor on Strategic Partnerships. I work closely with Tony on workforce development and support Craig Hayward on AI and advise the Chancellor on strategic partnerships. Across all of Vision 2030, you will see the emphasis on collaboration and partnerships. This is a persistent element in the day-to-day work of the Chancellor's office, partnering with colleges and districts, industry, with labor organizations, employers, etc. And here are just a few key examples. Our university partnerships related to AI include UC Berkeley, UCLA, Stanford, and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, facilitating research collaboration and resource optimization. Our industry partnerships include Google, Perplexity, Microsoft, NVIDIA, AWS, IBM, and others. These are complemented by philanthropic investments from partnerships like Salesforce and the Kapoor Foundation. And these are helping us to scale innovation and shape public policy. Our engagement with tech tool nonprofits such as PlayLab and Nectar AI extends our capacity to rapidly expand impact across our 116 colleges. We are implementing targeted AI initiatives across multiple strategic sectors, including nursing and allied health, cybersecurity, public safety, agriculture technology, and advanced transportation, as well as emerging sectors such as advanced air mobility, flying taxis, and AR, VR, XR. These programs are grounded in regional labor market needs and are powered by collaboration with thought leaders such as AI EDU and Innovate EDU. And we're not just adopting tools, we're building our own, aligned to our values and led by our faculty, staff, and students. Student engagement is central. We're piloting focus groups to help inform student-centered AI integration and expanding skills development, alumni network initiatives, and career preparation to help students thrive in AI-enhanced professional landscapes. To accomplish all of this, we are developing a framework to systematically mobilize our institutional capacity through a distributed leadership model. Regional consortia will serve as hubs, supported by AI fellows, who will provide expertise across 7 strategic domains. And our AI change makers will help lead integration across disciplines across the system. And now I'll turn the microphone over to Craig Hayward, who will introduce the work of AI fellows in his remarks. Craig?
Thank you, John. Good morning. I'm Craig Hayward, Visiting Executive for Strategic Research and Innovative Design. Vision 2030's Strategic Direction 3, the Future of Learning, is gaining momentum through bold, coordinated effort. The AI Council continues to champion ethical, inclusive innovation. We are coordinating with the AI Fellows to center the humans principles and provide guidance on achieving AI literacy for all students, staff, and faculty. This approach is grounded in human oversight with a focus on ensuring equitable access and outcomes. Our work in this area has positioned California community colleges nationally as leaders in responsible AI adoption. At this point in time, infrastructure development is key. The Common Cloud pilot, now underway at 23 colleges, is laying the foundation for system-wide data analytics, transfer pipelines, and improved student services. Thanks to this pioneering work, personalized real-time support is within reach whenever it is needed. The Digital Center and the Chancellor's Office Research Unit are actively evaluating emerging tools and projects, such as the Nectar AI pilot. This evaluation is critical, offering the quantitative and qualitative data to explore and understand how Gen AI can extend instructors' impact and enhance student engagement and learning. We are meeting the moment with both clarity and boldness. Tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot, and Perplexity are quickly becoming part of everyday learning and operations. We are clear-eyed about the shared concerns around Gen AI and the need to take steps, such as developing universal AI literacy, to ensure responsible usage. These steps are critical to unlocking the full potential of AI for personalized learning, timely feedback, and instructional efficiency. We are moving with intention to modernize technology systems, update policies, and build faculty and staff capacity. As the governor emphasized in the Vision 2030, California is leading with humility, curiosity, and transparency. Our work reflects these values: thoughtful, strategic, and equity-driven. This is a transformative moment. We are shaping the future and the future of teaching and learning together with our values at the center and our students always in focus. And I mean that literally. As Don just noted, we are currently forming focus groups and other student input channels to provide us with ongoing feedback on our Gen AI initiatives and the student perspective. With that, now let me turn it over to Abdi Malik in Syria.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Abdimalik Bull, the Visiting Executive of Educational Excellence, Institutional Equity, Innovation, and Strategic Impact. And I get to work on really cool emerging items for our system, always with a focus on expanding access and improving success. Here's a quote from page 6. Central to the vision is a worker-centered, learner-centered approach to educational attainment, implementing strategies that reflect the full diversity of California's population and creating inclusive environments that support all individuals in completing a certificate or degree. The accompanying accountability framework ensures transparency, using disaggregated data to illuminate disparities and ensure that no student or a group of students feel disaffected or alienated. This is why we have high-impact programs like Emoja, Puente, Rising Scholars, our Veterans Demonstration Project in Mesa, Next Up, and others. These programs provide critical academic, cultural, and economic support to our students, ensuring their access to higher education and improving student retention, engagement, and success. Internationally, California community colleges have been engaged with international students and education for a very long time. Vision 2030 Refresh recognizes the opportunity of a more coordinated approach system-wide. An example of this is working with the African American Male Education Development Network and our Ghanaian higher education institutions to develop a Pan-African virtual college. On page 20, it says coordinate global and international education, and I quote, opportunities that provide students in California community college with rich immersive experiences in diverse cultural settings, broadening their perspective and cultivating an understanding of local, national, and international socioeconomic, cultural, and political histories and issues. This collaborative work lays the foundation for a unified professional development strategy, one that requires all faculty and staff to thrive in a dynamic, student-centered future, like Hakuna Matata. It means what? Hakuna Matata means what? No worries. It's our philosophy. For that, I'll turn it over to my sister from another mister, Dr. Cindy Martinez.
Good morning. I'm Celia Martinez, and I serve as Vice Chancellor of Equity, Innovation, and Institutional Effectiveness, and I get the opportunity to invest in the people that help us move our priorities forward. Professional development for our employees is critically important to advance Vision 2030, one that equips all of our faculty, staff, and administrators to thrive in a dynamic, student-centered future. The California Community Colleges system is advancing a system-wide vision for professional development that will empower our faculty, our classified professionals, and our administrators to lead change across our campuses and classrooms. Through coordinated efforts among the various divisions of the Chancellor's Office, we are building the leadership and capacity needed to support our employees to drive student success and system-wide transformation in a context of rapidly changing technologies and policies. Our college professionals are engaging already in micro-credentials, our communities of practice, and training designed to support innovation and the system-wide alignment that's needed. In addition, the Vision 2030 AI strategy is being brought to life, as Don mentioned earlier, through the AI Change Makers and the Chancellor's Office AI Fellows, who are shaping the future of teaching, learning, and workforce development in collaboration with our districts and regional consortia. As part of our Vision 2030, the California Community College Chancellor's Office is also hosting 8 regional convenings to support that strategic planning and implementation and district alignment of our system-wide priorities. This work brings Vision 2030 to life by equipping our people to lead meaningful change and build a stronger, more inclusive, and student-ready California Community College system. So now I would turn it over to Jory.
Hello, I'm Jory Hadsel, Executive in Residence for Strategic Technology Initiatives here at the Chancellor's Office. Page 25 states, Vision 2030 calls on us to build systems at scale with urgency to make access, success, and support seamless for our students. But scaling is often more about integration than simply adding new technology, although we certainly have our fair share of that as well. Breaking down silos, aligning our tools, platforms, and data to meet students where they are, and not asking them to navigate outdated systems that no longer reflect how today's learners live, work, and learn. We are shifting from a fragmented legacy infrastructure to a connected, intelligent ecosystem. Platforms like MAP, the California Virtual Campus, and Program Pathways Mapper are helping us deliver content, guided journeys, and helping students stay on track from enrollment to completion, from credentials to careers. The Common Cloud Data Platform is already transforming how we manage and share data, enabling real-time insights and powering innovations like AI-driven fraud detection and personalized student support. With Reimagined CCC Apply, we're simplifying the college application process to make it faster, more inclusive, and removing unnecessary barriers that stand between students and enrollment. And even our physical infrastructure is being reimagined as a system asset. Microgrids are helping colleges become energy resilient hubs for their communities using smart technology to ensure continuity during emergencies. And we're applying the same integration mindset to social supports, connecting low-income students to CalFresh, CalWorks, and Medi-Cal through secure data automation and interagency partnerships so they can focus on learning and not on bureaucracy. Together, these efforts reflect systems thinking at scale, where technology, policy, and design come together in service of a singular goal, helping every student move through our system with clarity, confidence, and support. Next, we have David.
Good morning. I'm David O'Brien, Vice Chancellor for External Relations. Vision 2030 calls on us to lead transformational change through people, systems, policy, and resources. Transformational change requires robust and healthy engagement with the policy and budget process at the state, federal, and local levels. The California Community Colleges continue to lead in advancing policies that reduce barriers to student access, expand student support services, and strengthen educational and workforce pathways. Since the adoption of the original Vision 2030, The Chancellor's Office, with the support of this Board of Governors, has led several substantial policy and budget efforts aligned to our goals and strategic directions, including but by no means limited to, we have sponsored successful legislation to expand state-funded financial aid access for students with disabilities. We have successfully advocated for additional state funds to expand education to justice-impacted students, as the Chancellor has noted. We secured funding to expand our nursing and allied health programs, and we continue to champion legislative efforts to allow community colleges to offer Baccalaureate of Science in nursing degrees on a pilot basis. And we've advocated for policy changes and new ongoing funding to expand financial aid access and build out basic needs programs at all campuses. These wins are only possible through collective effort, from consultation council partners and legislative champions to our faculty and our students. Let me as well recognize the entire government relations team, our Chancellor's Office leadership, led by our Chancellor, and our outstanding Board of Governors. Together, we will continue to advance bold, equity-driven policies that remove barriers and expand opportunities for every learner. And now let me turn it over to Jenny May to close.
Thank you, David, and this entire team. I am Ginny May, Visiting Executive for Educational Services and Support. I've been at the Chancellor's Office for a year now, and it has been my pleasure to be the editor of Vision 2030, the July 2025 edition. I want to particularly recognize Deputy Chancellor Rowena Tominang and her leadership in keeping us organized and focused, given all the moving parts. And finally, I also want to thank Chancellor Sonia Christian for rolling up her sleeves at 6 o'clock in the morning and working side by side with us on this transformational endeavor. So let's close with these powerful words from the conclusion. Vision 2030 expands equitable access, ensures success, and strengthens student support by reimagining who we serve, how we serve, and where learning can happen. Whether a student is logging onto class at a virtual campus during a night shift break, studying at home while putting their children to bed, or attending classes on campus, our system will bring college to them with flexibility, care, and high-quality education. Together, that's together. We are seizing this moment to build a stronger, more equitable, and more resilient California for our students, our communities, and our planet. Our time is now.
Thank you so much, Ginny. And thank you to the entire team for all of the work these past months on the Vision 2030 July 2025 edition. So Board of Governors, that concludes our presentation. And at this time, I'd like to open it up for comments and questions.
President Aguinaldo.
Yeah, thank you. At this time, I'll take some board comments. Andrea, do you want to do it by circulating or no? I think just raise your hand or I'll flip it over to Bill to see if there's any comments left.
Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis.
Okay, perfect. Lieutenant Governor.
Well, good morning, everyone. And I came down this morning to hear this presentation, and it was really just fantastic to hear the enthusiasm and the excitement. Vision is really important. And I think, Chancellor, you started at the top, reminding everyone about the size and the power of this educational institution. With almost 2 million students enrolled in California in the community college system. There's really nothing in the world that's quite like it. And so it was a great reminder to see the ability and the thoughtfulness and the commitment of the leadership of all of you. So it was just very inspiring to to hear not just the content of the presentation, but also really the commitment of the people who we have here behind the institution. I think my question for you is in terms of the brass tacks of enrollment. How do we see the vision for the 2030 plan from the vantage point here of 2025, particularly in the context of some of the things that are happening in higher education today, whether it's students being more price sensitive to a four-year degree and looking for opportunity in the community college system to get some of those credits out of the way. But also in terms of something, Chancellor, you talked about earlier, which is making sure that in light of the powerful tools that people have to hack the system and enroll without really enrolling in order to be able to get the benefits of the financial aid that's provided by the state. If you could maybe just give us some thoughts, and maybe Chancellor, we can start with you, just of the current context of so much disruption in public higher education, some of which has been touched on. But how do we see kind of tightening up the system and how that may be reflected in enrollment and time and efficiency for students in being able to get the credentials or the credits that they need to move forward in their educational goals? Thank you.
That's really a great question, and it's really at the heart of the implementation, which our office is so amazingly detailed in tracking through mobilizing people, looking at policy solutions, developing systems that take care of administrative bureaucracies, and then working with the state to do even one-time funding to get us situated with innovation. Let me say a few points, Lieutenant Governor, for this great opener that you provided for us. The first comment I want to make is that we have over 2.1 million students, and our target is moving to 3 million students. And our goal is to be able to absorb this opening up of access with equity in a way that is fiscally sustainable for the state of California. So we're not approaching it from saying more is more. We're approaching it by saying that our system is ready to be smart about the use of technologies, to engage our faculty to come up with innovative solutions. How do we focus on professional development for our faculty and staff and invest in it so that we can undertake the goal of getting to opening up access to 3 million students? And it's not a pie in the sky idea. We have calculated that number by looking at credit for prior learning, for example. When we're going to our veterans and welcoming them back from the services provided for the country, we're not just loosely welcoming back our veterans, we're welcoming them back with automatically saying, welcome back to California. Here are 12 college credits that you already have for the skills and abilities that you gained when you were serving our country through the job that you have been performing. We've been able to do that only because of a systematic engagement with our faculty through the Academic Senate and using tools like AI. It's a both and proposition, but we're engaging with it carefully because we want it always to be human in the loop. And the second piece that I would mention is, besides sort of the people strategy and professional development, we are so very thankful. Chris Ferguson mentioned the investments that the state has made in the California community colleges. When you're looking at reductions this last year through these investments, and many of them are one-time, but we're saying we'll take the one-time and we'll build up the innovation. So we are doing the systems development and the policy reform. So I will wrap up by saying that we are approaching the work of skills building with partnering with our industry partners like Google's and NVIDIA's, so that when their state-of-the-art development of technology, our students have immediate access because our faculty are right there at the R&D rooms of these companies. We built those MOUs with them. We are there was one more point I wanted to make with that, but these are not, again, theoretical ideas. The Korea passport idea is, again, not theoretical. We are far along in the implementation of recognizing skills that are outside the classroom. There is no other state in the nation that can say that their system of higher education is at recognizing learning wherever it happens on the job and bringing it into traditional academia. And now I remember what slipped my mind, and this is the baccalaureate attainment. We have to invest in all of our public systems. Our CSU system is amazing in serving baccalaureate attainment and is our partner. So we are opening up our transfer agenda by having data flow to the CSU so we don't have administrative bureaucracies. But the goal that we have in the state of California for baccalaureate attainment is not sort of a mentality of, we have, all of us need to open up full throttle, and still it's going to be a hard push to meet the goals of the baccalaureate attainment. So through partnerships and through our own community college baccalaureate, we have systematically come up with opportunities for all of the public sectors within California community colleges. We're so grateful for your partnership with us, Lieutenant Governor, and I'm so happy that the schedule worked out for you to be here to see the unveiling of a very practical vision for the state of California.
Well, thank you, Chancellor, and thank you for reaffirming what we all know, which is that your leadership is really just the power behind so much of this. And I know you're always so quick to recognize the teams and everyone's work, but it's just always very inspiring, but also really just very affirming to know that this vision is backed up by the kind of practical programming that you're working so very hard to put in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Governor. We'll take Member Brown and Member Williams, then we'll head back over to Sacramento.
Hi, everyone. The entire vision, of course, is wonderful, and I think we are headed in the right direction. I wanted to surface 3 items in particular, though, that are particularly salient. I really liked the idea of the California community colleges as hubs. I think about how historically places like our libraries were just places to get books, but now they are so much more for the community, and they offer so many other things. And these are things that we're already doing. So when I think about the LA fires that happened, Los Angeles Pierce College opened up their doors for their pre-veterinary program to large animals so that people could save their livestock. So it's like we're already in this relationship, but we haven't labeled it, similar to romantic relationships. And I think we need to put a label on it finally and solidify what we've already been doing and get credit for it. So I love that that's a focus here. Second item that I wanted to surface has to do with the mental health for veterans. I think that's incredibly important. And I think that is the community that should be targeted and focused on first. But in future iterations, it is my hope that we can learn from what we do with the veterans in this particular area to expand that out to all of our students, particularly coming out of quarantine and just, we've had a really tough time. Our students with their soft skills being online so much, looking at screens so much, it's been really tough for them. It used to take me about a week to do icebreakers with my in-person students, and now it's taking about half the semester. And it's incredibly important that we provide students opportunities to build their social skills, build their confidence, and to also address any traumas that they've had from their adverse childhood experiences. So I'd like us to look at that veterans mental health focus that we have presently, which I do think is the right direction to go first, as a demonstration project itself of something we could expand out to all students in the future. And then the third item is, of course, I see that we are surfacing and highlighting professional development. I love seeing the areas of focus in that area right now as well. I think they are what is most salient, which is climate action and artificial intelligence. If we didn't surface and focus on that, it would be sort of like ignoring when the internet came out. This is such a huge thing that's impacting us all, and it is what professional development coordinators statewide are working on and wanting to know more about. It's what faculty want to know about. Our recent Academic Senate for California Community Colleges conference on the Curriculum Institute had a focus on AI as well. So everyone up and down the state wants to know more, wants to learn, and wants to learn how to do so in an ethical way and in a sustainable way. That being said, I also think we need to think about, as we operationalize this and we look at how we're doing the distributed leadership for climate action and how we've already been doing good work within the CTE field with our regional consortiums, we need to think about how can we learn from ourselves, because we have those structures in place that are aligned with certain funding, sort of like the regional consortiums. They organize faculty in different regions, they get together and they work on professional development. But we haven't been doing that in the liberal arts area. And I think that's part of what puts the brakes on things like Common Course numbering, is that we haven't built those connections. So I'd like us to also look at this as something that we can expand out to all different areas. How can we communicate better? Where has it already been working in other areas, and where else can we apply it? So you know me with the intersectionality. So I think we're going in the right direction, but I think we need to go a little bit further in that particular area. So I'm glad to see it surface so that it can continue to grow as we iterate future versions of the vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Brown. We'll take Member Williams, then Member Perry.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I wish I was able to join in person. First off, I just wanted to say, Chancellor and team, thank you. Chancellor, since you've come aboard, it's like a steady heartbeat. And I super appreciate the consistency, the follow through, and the momentum that is being built. And so I just wanted to acknowledge you all for that. I had the opportunity to attend the QuibJack meeting last week. It's a joint meeting with 3 of us and 3 Department of Ed board members. And they were just talking about alignment of language. It would be great to see some of the strategic sectors that are listed in the California Jobs First report show up in our community college language, and you know, specifically as it relates to like some of the regional stuff that's happening. Also, like with AI, as we talk about AI, I really would like to add to the conversation ensuring communities that don't historically get access to advanced technologies, that there's a specific focus, that there's some education around data ownership and just how to get involved in the AI space. I also like the work that is happening around credit for prior learning. As a community college student, I completed over 90 units, never received an associate's degree. I have a master's degree today. And if there's ways that there are campaigns that individuals like myself and others can promote, you know, helping get access to credit for prior learning. I know a lot of students that just gave up and didn't complete and probably, you know, could earn a degree. One question that I have, and then I'm gonna close with a comment. You were talking about some of the federal priorities, and it sounded like there could be an impact on dual enrollment as it relates to our undocumented students. And so where there's an opportunity to kind of unpack how that could affect enrollment in the future. And I don't know whether the one-time funds will address helping those students continue to get access to dual enrollment. I believe dual enrollment is a really important pathway. I think the associate's degree really should be the new high school diploma. I think all high school students should have an opportunity to earn an associate's degree through dual enrollment. And so just wanted to hear more about whether or not the shift in policy is going to affect the enrollment in our dual enrollment programs. And then the last thing I just want to close with, just continue to lift that students are still showing up without instructional materials and textbooks. And I just want to keep pressing on day one access to textbooks, transparency across the district about costs for textbooks, and making sure that when students enter into a classroom, they have access to all of the instructional materials that they need in order to be successful in the course. And if that could be highlighted more in the vision, I would like to be a part of making that happen. And I yield the rest of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Williams. We have Member Perry, Member Haynes, then Member Epstein.
So first, the sartorial comment. I really like the new merch, but I think we need a special edition that says, "Our time is now." I'll work on that. I just wanted to be able to sit here, and I can say it's the best TED Talk I've ever been to see the array of commitment and expertise and the inclusivity and the way everyone worked together to bring forth this living, breathing document is arguably one of the high points of my time sitting in this chair. And I want to commend you for the living, breathing aspects of it, because you're recognizing the winds are shifting, the needs of our students shift, and being able to have a document that is highly cognizant of that and framed in such a way that it can be responsive is pretty remarkable. So thank you to the team and to the chancellor. And I want to talk for a minute about foster youth, because I think it's a good example of why it's so important that this document is flexible and not really fungible, but flexible. I think foster youth, like our veterans and so many others, exemplify how fragile the connection to education, much of our population is. It's so tenuous. And it seems in this climate, the current ethos is no under-resourced community should go unscathed. And we are up against some real headwinds in that place. And I like how the document, again, looks at that and does some forward thinking to address that. And something that's going on with foster youth, I think, is a good example. Essentially, their access to SNAP benefits has been eliminated, which will pose some additional challenges for them on our campuses. And then in the sort of one step forward, two steps back, the Pell Grants, there's some good news, because in the recent legislation, Pell funds can be used for short-term accredited job training, which is really great and aligns with our mission. The bad news is the increase in credit means that it will impact our foster youth and create less access. So again, we know this, and I think the document is perfectly framed to look at foster youth and so many of the under-resourced communities we serve and address that. So thank you. And thank you to my Board of Governors too. Everyone's had a hand in this document and the team.
Thank you, Member Perry. Member Haynes, then Member Epstein.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. So first, let me say that I'm very, very excited to be here in this time. Our time is now. I have another recommendation to make relative to that. In the next iteration, because I believe there will be a next iteration, we need to add Vision 2030. Our time is now. Okay, let's just be really upfront with that and just say it.
You get the first T-shirt.
Okay, all right, okay. So with that said, what I was very excited about was John's presentation, because he's the data guy. And he was right out there saying that those needles have moved. But what I would like to just I don't need answers now, but these are questions. One of them is, let me back up and say I would agree with one of our members, and that she said we must continuously reevaluate our efforts and be courageous enough to look at ourselves and ask the question why. And I think that's really important. because the iterations are critically important. We are still student-centered, and with that, we really have to make certain that we are not just looking at our student success, but to the extent of our own success and being able to work with them. So with the idea of the data is being disaggregated, I want to make certain that the data is disaggregated not just by district, but by college, and that we're able to see where those colleges are successful and where they might not be successful, because it may require us looking and partnering in a way that they can be. And for me, I don't know that. There's 116 colleges. There's 73 districts. Not everybody is on the same pathway at the same time. And so to the extent that we can really dig down and be helpful at this level, within the chancellor's level, the chancellor's office level, that's why the chancellor's office is here, to provide that intake. The other area that I think is really important, in case no one sort of recognized this, for the most part, we've talked about workforce, and I'm not talking about right now, but we've really talked about workforce on the side, and we focused in on transfer. There has been a transformation. We have now lifted up workforce inequality with transfer and said both pathways are important, which means that both pathways can't be far apart from each other. They have to be in line in some ways with each other. And my own experience has been that I had to get a job before I could go to school to get a higher education. And I had to keep that job in order to finish my degree. And that alignment wasn't there. I had to kind of make it up as I went along. And what we're saying is we shouldn't have to make it up, that alignment is narrow so that students can jump across whenever they need the training they need, or the transformation or transition they need to that next job or that next career. And so I just want to make certain. And then I want to recognize, and I think it was you, Dina, that said, we're building resilience. That's what our communities need. And it's going to bring tears to me, but our communities need resilience, and they need it in the educational sphere. They also need to be seen, but that resilience piece makes California successful. Without it, we lag. And so I just wanted to bring all of those forward and say, job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Haynes. We'll take Member Epstein, then Member Correll.
Thanks. First of all, I want to say that I enjoyed the TED Talk combined with musical chairs. I thought that was quite a remarkable achievement of drama, and I think the one thing it really demonstrated, I think Member Perry alluded to this, is just the array of talent that Chancellor Christian has brought in. Some of the folks were here before, but a lot of them are new, and it was really very impressive. We started, as the longest serving board member, I was here before there was Vision 1.0, and we adopted that vision. I think Member Perry was here, maybe Member Haynes, and it was, basically a pretty big change from the direction the colleges had been going in. And I think some progress was made, some, stakes were put in the ground. But what was needed was really a kind of an everything, everywhere, all at once implementation, which I think is what Chancellor Christian has brought to it and the team. So I think that's really amazing. I mean, I'm so impressed with some of the new things that have come in recently. I mean, the AI fellows, the climate fellows, the digital transformation center, and the achievement, the aggressive implementation of apprenticeships, dual enrollment, online CVC, courses, and with a continuing emphasis on equity and the burden-free courses, the justice system, the foster system, and veterans, and so forth. I think it really covers the waterfront, and it's very impressive. Specifically in the document, I mean, I was pretty intrigued. I think somebody else mentioned this earlier about the colleges as disaster response centers or as community centers. I think that's a really significant potential accomplishment, and if that could be recognized, universally throughout the state, that would be really great. On some of the metrics that have been followed, I notice, of course, that the enrollment gains have been fantastic, way above the target. The completion gains have not, but I'm assuming that the enrollment gains post pandemic, a lagging indicator will be the completion gains. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And finally, I just want to say I agree with Member Williams on, I'm sorry to hear that you took 90 units and never got a degree. Those of you who have been here a while know I've been harping on this excess unit issue forever. And I think we could still even be more aggressive than we are in this document to try and, with the help of the staff at the colleges and maybe even AI, reduce the number of units that students end up taking, and they follow the pathway a little better. So.
Thank you, Member Epstein. We have Member Correll, then Vice President Rawlings.
Thank you all. I echo everybody's sentiments that was a really wonderful presentation, a great game of musical chairs, excellently executed. So as the newest member of the body, I'm just really excited to step in at this moment. And it just feels like such a pivotal time to begin the service with this kind of reaffirmation and refreshment of the vision. And I was very impressed. I'll just share a couple of comments, really impressed by the way that you are thinking about general artificial intelligence is one areas that I work and think about, because as you've described, all of the adaptation that is going to need to happen both in our society and our workforce and in the way that we teach and learn, we are at the cusp of that. And I think that I'm just so impressed by the system's ability to really tackle it from inception and not just wait for these kinds of technological waves to really hit us, which is oftentimes something that we see in our public systems, right? We almost wait for the waves to hit us and then respond. This feels like such a wonderful way to just sort of tackle the issue and really think strategically. The other thing I would just say, I think one of the, as I'm sort of digging into a lot of the documents and the work that's happening, I think this ability to be resilient, to adapt is going to be so critical because we are still at the cusp of it. And so I'm almost curious to hear from you all between the refresh process, the AI strategy development, and even the investments that you've secured from the legislature. What are sort of the key ingredients of success that you have had that have allowed you to really navigate all of those things? Because I suspect that as we move forward, we're going to be seeing even more change, whether it's on where things like artificial intelligence are really going to impact our workforce. And so our ability to continuously refresh and adapt this vision is going to be, I think, also another marker of success. So I'm almost curious to hear from the staff and from the chancellor, what's your observation about how you've been able to kind of really navigate, what seems like really three major things in this first half of the year and been successful?
Sure, I'm happy to start. So I think there's several components to it. One is having strong leadership both at the system level and at the campus level. We have strong leaders who are bought into the vision, bought into using the state's investments to advance their institutions, to help their students be successful. But I would also add there's a few other pieces to it. We have some of the most creative, innovative staff on our campuses and at our system level that are really trying to think through consistently, how can we do it better? How can we serve our students better? How can we serve our communities better? And again, advance California. And then lastly, and most importantly, I think we have students that have a desire, they have the grit and the grind to say that they will work through our systems, they will persevere, they are going to get to their end goal. And it's between our students, our staff, and our leaders where we're able to advance all of our goals, whether it's using technology, whether it's enrolling additional students, whether it's on the efficiency gains or through associate's degree for transfers or now baccalaureate pilots. But it's together and it's that system that help us get there. And we have something that none of the other states in the nation have, and that is we have the largest pool of staff. We have the most students in the nation, and that allows us an economy of scale and an ability to innovate that other areas just won't be able to do.
I'd like to also add to what Chris mentioned in terms of just the level of engagement. So since joining the Chancellor's office, I've just been energized and inspired with the level of engagement that our team, Chancellor Christian, has with the system. And so, as Chris mentioned, we have so much talent across all of our colleges. So we have strong faculty engagement, and I want to thank our Academic Senate leadership for their partnership with many, many of our projects and activities because they have helped us work with the faculty across the system. Secondly, we also have in relation to AI and the future of learning, we've engaged other stakeholder groups as well, such as our CEOs, by offering professional development to our CEOs through our partners. And as Chris mentioned, our students are engaged, and even internally, to the point that was made earlier about reflection, self-reflection, internally as a team, and our Board of Governors knows this, we've also engaged in our own PD. So we have our AI series that our, Vice Chancellor Craig Hayward has been leading with our partners in the field, bringing that to our team and our Board of Governors for that level of engagement. So all of that work, I think, will contribute in an ongoing way to us being able to adapt very quickly, because as we know, in terms of technology and AI, it's very, very rapidly changing. So wanted to add that.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll take Vice President Rawlings, then Member Adu.
All right. I just want to start with a note of thanks. I've been in the system now, connected to the community college system now for 32 years. So I've seen all different iterations over time, and both as a student and then as classified in my roles and in various roles. And so really a thank you and a congratulations to the team that put this document together at this time that's so disruptive on federal policy. This document really is one that can ground our system and our colleges and those, especially those that are in the field. This is a document that they can really look to and feel some stability under their feet. And just the fact that it's so grounding and so future focused is really going to help us during this time. And especially going back, thinking about the vision for success originally, but these iterations that we've had on a strategic vision and in this document now really taking it to another level it's helpful in the fact that it really helps us be truly aligned strategically across the system. I've seen different plans before and they've been helpful, they've been constructive, but not really as aligned and as future focused and really supportive of the student's journey as this document is. So I'm really excited for this. And a note of thanks also, thinking about the Lieutenant Governor's question earlier about how we do this work, how we grow the enrollment. We have this period of time that we're in that's so disruptive and so uncertain about our federal funding. Particularly, we take a look at some of the CTE programs and other federal funded programs, and the folks in the field really aren't sure what's coming next, right? But the one thing has been really clear particularly through this budget cycle, is that when the federal government isn't there for us, the Newsom administration and the legislature are. And they have been there for us every step of the way. And we have Perkins funding, we have these other sources of funding, and the state is matching and going beyond what we're getting from the federal government. I mean, so the fact that the support of this administration, this legislature have been so solid is a point I don't think we make often enough, especially in the light of all the uncertainty we're facing. And I think our colleges, our students, our staff really can take solace and confidence in the fact that we're going to be getting through this. We're going to be fine because California has our back. So thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Member Adu?
Thank you for your comments, Vice President Rawlings. I flew into Sacramento today at 2 a.m. from Washington, D.C., and despite the tremendous amounts of jet lag I'm experiencing right now, being able to be here and learn about the amazing Vision 2030 work that's being done truly makes it all worth it. I wanted to begin by applauding the proposed fraud mitigation upgrades. I personally was very invested in this, and seeing the amazing work that's being done both at the Council and the Chancellor's Office, especially in terms of partnerships, is really inspiring, and I can't wait to see where that goes. I also additionally wanted to re-highlight how amazing the support towards student programs like MESA and Umoja are. These programs, both in my own and in my peers' experiences, have been absolutely transformational in terms of uplifting minority students' success and their sense of community within our colleges. And this demonstrated commitment is nothing short of inspirational. And this isn't necessarily a question, but if you could speak more to those efforts, I think it would be insightful for us all.
I wanted to share just a little bit more on Mesa and Umoja. We were in a conversation the other day about how in just relatively a short time frame that both of those programs have really scaled to that we have close to 80 Umoja programs across the system. Similarly with Mesa as well. And to Vice President Rawlings' point, it's our ability to scale some of those efforts is really because our legislature has been investing in us and they believe in us in terms of the work that we do. Dr. Bull earlier in his presentation talked about some of the key aspects of those programs that make them so successful for our students. So the social emotional support, the academic support, and then also I think our campuses are doing very well connecting our students to also the basic needs efforts. So there's a lot of alignment with those programs, and they're not just siloed off, as sometimes they could be, and that they have been in the past, considered as boutique programs. But now those programs are really at the core of the campus efforts. Because they are core to the equity work. So it's our ability to scale and that we have those investments coming from our legislature to allow us to scale, because our hope is that our 116 colleges have both of those programs in addition to some of the other affinity programs that we have.
Can I was remiss in not thanking the foundation for their role in bringing this document forward. So I want to thank, I know that you played a significant role, and I want to thank you. And I want to underscore your points, Member Higgins, about the governor and the legislature. It is so important to have their support and knowing that they will backstop this incredible work. So without Governor Newsom and legislature support, we wouldn't be able to do this. And without knowing that how supportive they are of the community colleges and how they constantly recognize the college's role in meeting the economic and other goals of the state and act accordingly. So.
Great. Thank you very much to the board for everyone's comments. Before we take public comment, I wanted to turn it over to Chancellor Christian and her team just to highlight what's going on with our dynamic microsite. I think all of us are really eager to continue sinking our teeth in even more deeply than it is. And these documents, this information is available on our website at a website address that is so easy to remember. So before I steal your thunder, Chancellor Christian, could you talk to us about how we could find these documents?
I'm actually not sure about the answer to that question. I do know that the microsite is under development, and we will go through a process with Consultation Council before that site is unveiled. At this time, it is on the Chancellor's Office website, which is already live, so we can access the 27-page document. The microsite is going to have AI capabilities. We are going to be able to have sort of an AI voice reader, like if you go to the Atlantic or the New York Times, you have the voice reader. We will have sort of a podcast that will bring out information from Vision 2030. We will have a bot, an AI bot that is been trained on all of the different documents and able to answer queries. So that particular site will need to go through a process before we will unveil it to the public. Deputy Chancellor, any other comments? We good to go? Okay, thank you.
Sure. I hopped onto www.cccco.edu/vision 2030, and we were able to access the document there and are looking forward to the cool new tools that will be available on the website. So
thank you, President Aguinaldo, for saving me there.
Of course. It's a great website, and hopefully we can make that a very welcoming resource to the folks who need access to the document. All right, at this time, we'll take public comments. I'll flip it over to Andrea.
The public comment period on item 4.2 is now open. You will have 2 minutes. I will hand it over to Vice President Rawlings to begin with public remarks in Sacramento.
All right, we have 2 public comments, so come on up. In order, Orny Lemony-Prossart and Larry Galizio.
Great. Good afternoon, President Aguinaldo, Chancellor Christian, and members of the board. My name is Aronit Lemony-Prossart, and I'm the new president of the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges, or FAC. I also teach ESL at American River College. I'm honored to comment on pages 21 and 22 of the July edition of the Vision 2030. FAC appreciates that this section recognizes the concerns about the possibility that AI could undermine learning and leave our vulnerable students further behind by widening the pre-existing digital gap. Additionally, we appreciate the human-centered approach, which states on page 16 of the Generative AI and the Future of Learning that, and I quote, "Students, faculty, staff, and administrators should be able to opt out where appropriate and have access to a person who can quickly consider and remedy problems they encounter," end quote. As an immigrant from a low-income family, I would never have been able to earn a PhD without encouragement and emotional support from faculty. My former students have also repeatedly told me that they would never have achieved their educational goals without faculty and staff support. So I would like to say that we would like to remind that our faculty and staff are not just informational providers, but mentors who inspire, provide emotional support, can truly relate to students. In fact, studies have consistently shown that human connection is crucial to student retention and success. We recommend that AI be used as a tool with humans at the center to enhance faculty and staff impact. FAC thanks the Chancellor's Office for the thoughtful approach in the 2025 edition of the Vision 2030. Thank you.
President Aguinaldo, Vice President Rawlings, Chancellor Christian, members of the board, Larry Glizio, Community College League. First, I think one of our districts would grant an honorary degree to Member Williams. So considering the number, yeah. So just would love to talk to you, Member Williams, about that. All right. Appreciate all the work that's gone into this. I just wanted to focus on one area. There's a lot of discussion about change and dynamism and the need to adapt. There's one area where we're doing okay, but other states are cleaning our clocks, and that is in the community college baccalaureate degree granting. Whether it's Florida, yes, that Florida, Washington State, and now Illinois under the leadership of Governor Pritzker, other states are recognizing that the capacity for community colleges to offer place-bound students degrees where there is a labor gap and a labor need to offer quality degrees is what needs to happen now. Because our time is now, to use the ongoing metaphor. Because absent that, students won't go, or they'll go to a private institution. We have over 50 baccalaureate degrees. They're doing phenomenally. But we have a calcified structure in California where instead of labor need, economic sector, and recognizing the capacity that we have at our colleges, we are simply experiencing a self-inflicted wound and not taking advantage of our incredible capacity. So I would ask everyone here and the next governor to whoever that might be, to say, let's be California again, and let's be at the lead, and let's serve all Californians with quality baccalaureate degrees at all of our institutions that are able to provide it.
That concludes public comment in Sacramento. President Aguinaldo, do you have any comments in your location?
No comments in Denver.
Thank you. Member Brown?
No comments in Ohio.
Thank you. Member Williams?
No comments in Rialto.
Thank you. Member De La Fuente?
No comment in Connecticut.
Thank you, Madam President. There are no hands raised.
Thank you very much. At this time, I will take a motion.
Move approval.
So moved. Second.
I didn't hear who seconded. Is that Member Perry?
I do.
Member Adu. Okay, thank you, Member Haynes and Member Adu. Andrea, if you could take roll.
Aye.
Hildegard B. Aguinaldo?
Enthusiastic aye.
Lillian Corral?
Aye.
Ricardo De La Fuente?
Aye.
Tom Epstein?
Aye.
Pamela Haynes?
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis?
Aye.
Jennifer Perry?
Aye.
Bill Rawlings?
Aye.
Joseph R. Williams?
Aye.
Adrian?
Aye.
Thank you, Madam President. The motion passes.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And congratulations to the entire team. All right,
Andrea, real quick, did we get Adrian Brown on there? We did. Okay, great.
Excellent. Well, thank you, team. At this time, let's hop back into our regularly scheduled programming in the order of our agenda. We're going back to item 4.1 for approval of contracts and grants. And while I think it would be easier for us if we just pass this agenda item off to Tom, we're actually passing it to General Counsel Lynch and Executive Vice Chancellor Ferguson first.
Thank you. Kathy Lynch again presenting the item with Chris Ferguson, Executive Vice Chancellor. It's a pretty short contracts and grants item. There's only, I think, 6 there. They're pretty self-explanatory, but I understand. Member Epstein, you may have some questions, so I'll open the floor to you.
Yeah, it's my same old issue that I raise consistently and never seems to get addressed. But I'm a big fan of Emoja and Mesa and these programs that do, the personal engagement with students who want to talk to people who understand what their situation is. But and I think they've accomplished a lot. But when we set the goals for each of these contracts, there's never any specific. Remember, it's like increase or improve it, but no objective criteria. And I just think that in our contracts, it's more motivational to put in numbers and on what we're trying to accomplish. And I think that would be helpful if we do that in contracts going forward.
Thank you, Member Epstein. I do look at most of the contracts that come through, and I think we see a lot of terms like increase because these programs are very much growing so much, and we want them to. They're aspirational in so many ways, and we're moving forward, and we don't want to set a limit that might be counterproductive or seem as negative. But so we balance that with also having metrics because they're both important. So when I look at the contracts, I do, as you do, focus on metrics and say, how are we going to do this and how are we going to do that? And I lean into our program folks to provide more of that. But your point is well taken, and I will certainly personally take a closer look at them as we move forward, as I'm sure our team will.
Tom, can I ask you a
President
question?
Aguinaldo, just a quick, I wanted to have the last word, if that's okay. You go ahead, President Aguinaldo.
Okay. Tom, just a question for you. I see how under accomplishments from prior year, it does say that MESA students consistently demonstrate strong retention and success rates, and then it provides some data there. Is there something specific you're looking for beyond the statistics that are represented in the materials?
No, it wasn't so much the report on last year's contract. It's the goals for this coming year's contract, where it just says things like improve or increase, and it doesn't set a number that we're trying to reach, that we're trying to hit a target, which is, in most organizations, there's a more specific target for stuff like that.
Okay, well, we'll take a look at that.
Oh, and if I could add, Member Epstein, that is really a summary of the goals going forward. The contracts, I can assure you, are a little bit more specific on the goals.
My only comment was to say that internally in the office, we have a goal and an outcome for this item, and that is for it to come to the board and for Member Epstein not to have a question because you've done it so well. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you, Chancellor Christian. Any other board comments? All right, hearing none, we'll take public comment.
The public comment period on item 4.1 is now open. There are no public comments in Sacramento. President Aguinaldo, do you have any comments in Denver?
None.
Member Brown?
None.
Member Williams?
None.
Member De La Fuente?
None.
And there are no hands raised.
Great. Thank you very much, Andrea. At this time, I'll take a motion and a second.
Motion.
Also move. Oops, second.
Okay, I'm going to need a readout on who is that. Bill, can you clarify who motioned it in second, please?
I think De La Fuente just beat Perry for the motion, and Adu was right after that.
All right, there you go. Thank you, members. Andrea, let's take the roll, please.
Thank you. Love Adu?
Aye.
Hildegard B. Aguinaldo?
Aye.
Adrian C. Brown?
Aye.
Lillian Corral?
Aye.
Ricardo De La Fuente?
Aye.
Tom Epstein?
Hi.
Pamela Haynes?
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis?
Aye.
Jennifer Perry?
Aye.
Bill Rawlings?
Aye.
Joseph Williams?
Aye.
Madam President, the motion passes.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Board, we're now moving to item 4.3, which is the disciplines list revisions update. And for that, we'll pass it to Deputy Chancellor Tomaning.
They were going to do it over again. Hi, everybody. Good morning, President Aguinaldo, Vice President Rawlings, Chancellor Christian, members of the board. We're on item 4.3, which is the disciplines list revision update. And periodically, the Board of Governors updates the minimum qualifications for faculty. And I'm going to turn this over to our partner, President, oh my gosh, I was going to say Vice President Latanya Parker from the ASCCC.
Good morning, everyone. President Aguinaldo, Chancellor Christian, esteemed members of the Board of Governors, and colleagues. I'm Dr. Latanya Parker Parnell, President of the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges, and I am pleased to present to you today the 2024-25 Disciplines List revisions. As you are aware, the Discipline List defines the minimum qualifications required for faculty to teach in California community colleges. These qualifications are central to our mission of ensuring that students are taught by individuals with the necessary academic preparation and professional expertise. In accordance with our Resolution 10.01, Fall 2016, the Academic Senate facilitates an annual faculty-driven process to review and revise the Disciplines List. This process includes public hearings at our fall and spring plenary sessions and extensive vetting through our consultative and governance structures, and partnerships with the Chancellor's Office. This year, the Senate conducted 2 formal hearings during the fall 2024 and spring 2025 plenary sessions to consider proposals submitted by disciplined faculty across the state. As a result of that process, we are recommending the following revisions to the Disciplines List. The addition of brewing, fermentation, and distillery sciences, a timely and workforce responsive discipline that reflects the growing academic and vocational interest in this field. Revision of art to ensure clarity and alignment with current academic standards and degree offerings with more restrictive minimum qualifications. And revisions of physical education with new terminology adapted to better reflect unique qualifications needed to serve students with disabilities. These revisions have gone through our rigorous shared governance process and have been approved by our delegate body led by our ASCCC board member, Christopher Howerton. We believe they strengthen our ability to attract and retain high quality faculty while also responding to emerging workforce and educational needs. Therefore, the Academic Senate respectfully recommends that the board adopt Resolution 2025-21 approving these updates to the Disciplines List. On behalf of the faculty of the California Community Colleges, we want to thank you for your continued support and partnership in upholding excellence in teaching and learning. I'm open to answer questions at this time.
Excellent. Let's take questions from the board.
I don't have a question. I'll make a comment. I had the opportunity, my district, San Bernardino Community College District took us to a tour Pomona, Cal Poly Pomona, and they have a brewery there and a restaurant on campus. I think they're the first university in California to actually have a brewery. And I just thought it was really interesting that the demand for this industry is increasing, and it's pretty, I'm gonna say it's interesting in a cool way to see colleges going in this direction.
Thank you, Member Williams. Any other board members? Bill, it sounds like you have a comment.
I think we have Member Haynes.
So thank you so much for the presentation. And I'm always curious with the changes in AI, the changes that are coming in different industries. Is there a backlog relative to the educational pieces or accepting certain educational pieces that are not sort of there for I'm not saying this well, I apologize. Because of the workforce and the industries and all of those things, is there a problem in terms of the faculty association staying on top of it? And is there becoming a list in terms of educational attainment for our faculty?
A list beyond the discipline list in terms of educational
the discipline list itself.
Oh, is there a list?
Right. So for example, the film industry had some changes. It took almost 5 years for it to get on the discipline list for it to be recognized. That there are certain educational areas that our faculty needed to have or did have, but it wasn't recognized as part of the discipline list. And so I'm sort of wondering, was that just a central problem relative to that particular industry, or because of the change in technology and the expertise and the skills that are necessary, has that changed enough that there needs to be a more quicker, faster way of somebody understanding what I'm
Yeah,
trying to
I
say?
think,
Well,
yeah.
Is there a thank you. Is there a backlog?
In terms of our process, we do a yearly process, so there isn't a backlog per se, but there's an opportunity for the discipline experts to bring to the table the new disciplines or revised disciplines as it pertains to minimum qualifications. And as stated, we hold 2 hearings, one in the fall and one in the spring. And in addition to that, we have faculty-wide efforts and vetting efforts in terms of our 116 California community colleges, faculty representatives who weigh in terms of the disciplines that we bring through resolutions during our spring plenary that is voted on. But we do not have a backlog per se, but a process for vetting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Haynes. Any other board member comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll take public comment.
The public comment period on item 4.3 is now open. You will have 2 minutes. There are no in-person comments in Sacramento. President Aguinaldo, do you have any in your location?
There are none.
Member Brown?
There are none.
Member Williams?
No.
Member De La Fuente?
There are none.
And there are no hands raised.
Thank you very much, Andrea. At this time, I'll take a motion and a second.
I'll move. Second.
I heard Perry and Adu.
Right.
Great. Andrea, if you could call the roll, please.
Love Adu?
Aye.
Hildegard B. Aguinaldo?
Aye.
Adrian C. Brown?
Aye.
Lillian Corral?
Aye.
Ricardo De La Fuente?
Aye.
Tom Epstein?
Aye.
Pamela Haynes?
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Lenny Kounalakis?
Aye.
Jennifer Perry?
Aye.
Bill Rawlings?
Aye.
Joseph Williams?
Aye.
Madam President, the motion passes.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Team, at this time, let's move from our action items to information and reports. We are going to take item 5.2, which is the current state budget 2026 to 27 shared advocacy request and legislative update first. And for that, I welcome Executive Vice Chancellor Ferguson, Vice Chancellor O'Brien, and Assistant Vice Chancellor Vasquez to the podium.
President, members of the board, Chris Ferguson, Executive Vice Chancellor of Finance and Strategic Initiatives, Chris Ferguson. Just a quick moment while we get the presentation up. No, we're waiting for the. All right, so next slide, please. So we're starting the state budget from a premise of there's a lot of uncertainty at the federal level, whether that's from tariffs or other federal actions that are having a significant impact or projected significant impact on available state revenues, which ultimately then impact the Proposition 98 guarantee. As a result, the state budget is predicated on roughly a $12 billion or closing of a $12 billion deficit heading into the 25-26 year. So that's across a 3-year span. So that's 23-24, 24-25, and 25-26. Luckily for the California community college system, there are no major core reductions to our services or programs that are being provided. Next slide. In particular, the budget does include $244.2 million to support a 2.3% cost of living adjustment. That's applied to the student-centered funding formula and select categorical programs, including the adult education program. The budget also includes, it's a total of 240 million because 100 million of the amount starts in 24-25, but it's about 140 million overall in net resources to support growth and enrollment growth throughout the system, a total of roughly 2.35%, with 100 million of that amount starting in 24-25 and roughly 40 million of that amount starting in 25-26. The legislature's intent here is to fully fund all unfunded enrollment growth that we were seeing in the 24-25 year under current policy. So that means they did not adopt a lifting of the 10% growth cap from one year to the next, nor did they approve the request to use the greater of current year FTES or the 3-year rolling average. The state budget does include 3.8 million in 24-25 and roughly 8 million in 25-26 to backfill property tax, estimated property tax losses in LA County due to the Eaton and Palisades wildfires. What this will do is help ensure that we don't have a deficit factor within the student-centered funding formula. Next slide. The budget is predicated on a few items that will impact district cash flow, district reserves, and reflects an impact in the application of the Prop 98 split. So the budget does withdraw roughly $49 million from the Proposition 98 Rainy Day Fund to support the student-centered funding formula in 25-26. The budget does reflect a $408.4 million deferral of student-centered funding formula resources from the May and June months to July of 26. And then in terms of treatment, the final budget, which is actually a victory for the system relative to the May revision, does reflect the transitional kindergarten rebench starting with the 25-26 fiscal year, and having those resources taken off the top before the split is computed. The May revision originally applied that to 23-24 and 24-25. The net here is that about 260 million in resources became available for community college purposes. Moving forward, it would mean that roughly 233 million of the rebench that would have gone to community colleges is instead going to be allocated on the K-12 side of the budget. Next slide. So in terms of investments in our system, several were noted in our Vision 2030 outline, but just to highlight them again, the budget does include 12 million one-time to support the Common Cloud Data Platform. It includes 6.6 million to support e-transcript California development. I would note with that 6.6 million, that's combined with 5.4 million from last year's budget for a total of 12 million. For credit for prior learning, the budget includes 15 million one-time and 5 million ongoing, as well as includes 25 million one-time to support career passports. Lastly, the budget does include 10 million ongoing to support colleges' participation in the Rising Scholars Program. Next slide. A few other investments I just highlight. The budget does include 60 million one-time to establish and support a student support block grant. There are several specific categories of expenditures that are listed as eligible uses of those resources. In particular, what they're highlighting are largely existing programs and existing opportunities and services available through our community college system today. It does include 20 million one-time to support emergency financial assistance grants to students. What the legislature is intending to do with this investment is to try and provide resources to students from mixed status families that have been impacted by the Better FAFSA and some of the filing problems that those students face. The budget includes 15 million one-time to support Dreamer resource liaisons. Of note within that investment, there is a 3% carve-out for the chancellor's office to provide technical assistance to the field. And really what we will attempt to do is ensure that we have consistency across the state in terms of knowing what our policies are and trying to ensure that the students or the programs are available to students pretty universally. Lastly, there's a $5.1 million investment to support financial aid outreach through community-based organizations. So this $5.1 million will not go to our colleges to provide that outreach, but it is for specific community-based organizations to be able to do this. Next slide. So a few notes in terms of what was sustained in the budget and has been planned for since last year or the year before. There's still a $60 million carve out from the Strong Workforce Program. So around 60 million of the 290 million available for that program. We'll continue to support the Rebuilding Nursing Infrastructure Grant Program. We anticipate that that carve out will continue for another 3 years. So it will also continue into the 26-27, 27-28, and 28-29 fiscal years. Heading into 29-30, that carve out is not anticipated to be there. The budget does include a final investment of 10 million one time to support our LGBTQ student support centers, as well as it includes 5 million one time to support districts' response or recovery efforts from the Eaton and Palisades fires. Next slide. The joint analysis for the enacted 25 budget is available on our website. Should there be any changes this fall as part of any cleanup efforts, we will see that. We will make sure that that's posted to our website. One cleanup item that we do note will be there is that 49 million from the K-14 rainy day fund. The actual appropriation wasn't in the trailer bill, so we will see that as a cleanup item this fall. Next slide. In terms of next steps, we have begun the process to solicit input for the 26-27 system budget and legislative requests. So we are actively encouraging all of our partners to work either through their organization or work with their campus CEO to provide that feedback to the office so it can be considered at our next consultation council. And so that the members of our executive team here at the Chancellor's office can work through those proposals. I believe we've asked the proposals to be submitted no later than August 1st. And we will work as an office to ensure that the proposals are well aligned to Vision 2030 and the goals that we are trying to accomplish as a system. Next slide. Certainly within that, we do want to know how they align with Vision 2030. We want to know how the investments or proposed investments would support student outcomes or improve student outcomes, whom has been consulted in the effort, and of course, what that fiscal impact is. I would add, for language also what that programmatic impact would be. And with that, I believe I will turn it over to Dr. Linda Vasquez for the state update.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, Chancellor Christian, members of the board. We are nearing the end of January, also the end of the first year of a 2-year legislative session. Right now, the legislature is in summer recess, and so they're back home in their districts, and they will come back mid-August. And when they come back, we will be very busy monitoring appropriations hearings and then monitoring bills that make it to the governor's desk. The last deadline for the governor bills to get out of the chambers is going to be in September, and last date, I don't know at the top of my head, but it'll be mid-October is the last deadline for the governor to sign bills or take action on bills. If you go to the next slide, this board is sponsoring 3 bills, AB 363, SB 308, and SB 391. So AB 363 was held in the Assembly Appropriations hearing due to some cost concerns. I want to give you some statistics because this bill fell in with about actually a third of the bills in the Assembly and the Senate that were held back in appropriations. 666 measures were sent to Assembly Appropes, and 35% of those bills were held. 432 bills were sent to Senate Appropriations, and 29% of them were held. And so one of our bills was held. So this just underscores the scrutiny that the legislature held bills to, considering the fiscal state of affairs and climate, and they were scrutinizing bills that had any price associated with it, whether it was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars or high millions. They were taking a close eye on bills that they would have to fund, and were not actually included in the unfunded mandates, right? They were looking at unfunded mandates and proposals that were not funded in the final budget. We decided to hold SB 308 for this year and bring it back next year to give the legislature and legislative staff more time to review. It is a huge effort since it requires sort of an update to legislative reports. And we requested some changes to about 15 of them, but it is a lot for the legislative staff to process. And so we're going to give them some more time to review, and we intend to bring it back next year. SB 391 is already on the Senate floor and one step closer to going onto the governor's desk. And if you recall, this bill will allow the Board of Governors to adopt a fee policy for external third-party professional research organizations who are requesting substantive data to support their independent policy projects. Next slide. Of the 40+ tier 1 bills that we continue to monitor, this just gives you a snapshot of those high priority bills and bills that we know that members of Consultation Council, our staff, or the board has asked us about. I won't go through every single one of them, but I'll start off with AB 90, which is really a repeat bill. It's come back a number of times, but it would require our local boards to take a vote to consider overnight parking programs at their districts. AB 537, which would expand Promise program eligibility for students who are part-time, but at a minimum enrolled in 9 units. AB 695 by Assemblymember Fong would allow continuity of non-exemption, the non-resident tuition exemption for our undocumented students. And AB 1400 by Assemblymember Soria, which would allow the community college Chancellor's Office to create a pilot program offering BSNs. Next slide. There are some bills, as I mentioned earlier, that were held back and have died for the year, but others that were held back as 2-year bills, either by the committee or at the author's decision. One of them was a bond bill by Assemblymember Alvarez, and so it will be up to the authors whether or not they want to reintroduce these bills. Another bill that was held as a 2-year bill is AB 95, which would have created a statewide coordinating body around higher ed and workforce. Chris mentioned that there was about $1.5 million included in the enacted budget that would support such a coordinating body. And so even if the bill does not move forward, there could be a possibility that the policy is enacted through the budget. In fact, that is the expectation that is outlined in the final budget. Lastly, a bill around transferring community colleges from one district to another was held back. Again, these bills may come back next year at the author's discretion. Next slide. Now we'll hand it over to Vice Chancellor O'Brien.
Thank you. Good morning again, board members and Chancellor. Just a brief couple of federal updates for you, since we know that that is taking up a lot of attention and time. And the Chancellor provided some critical updates in her update as well. The budget reconciliation bill, which you may have read, passed. It's officially called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and the acronym for that is OBBBA. I hate to inject my personal opinion into this, but I hate that acronym, so we won't be using it here. We're calling it the Budget Reconciliation Bill. This is the very high-profile piece of legislation that the President and Congress spent a lot of time negotiating. We want to summarize some of the major higher education provisions for you. Note in red there on this slide, one thing that got a lot of attention and concern from higher ed stakeholders that ended up not being included in the bill were some changes to Pell Grant eligibility that would have seriously limited the number of particularly part-time students and less than full-time students who could access Pell Grant. So after a pretty extensive nationwide advocacy campaign by higher education stakeholders and students, those were not included in the bill when it moved over to the Senate. The only real change around Pell Grant eligibility that was made is declaring that students are no longer eligible for Pell Grant if they receive what's known as a full ride scholarship, or a scholarship that covers full tuition and fees. That will exclude some low-income students from Pell Grant eligibility, but it should not nearly be as impactful as the previous provisions that were very high profile. It also enact something that the California community colleges have historically been very supportive of, which is known as workforce Pell or short-term Pell. This is expanding the Pell Grant to short-term workforce programs of at least 8 weeks, but under 15 weeks. It's something that a lot of folks in the career and workforce space have been advocating for some years. Notably, an element that is sure to be controversial among advocates is that these grants will be available to students enrolled at for-profit institutions as well as public institutions offering workforce programs. Next slide, please. On student loans, there were a number of changes made around student loans. We just wanted to highlight a couple here. One of which is that undergraduate loans will now be considered according to earnings criteria. So the undergraduate programs where the average graduate's income is less than the median high school graduate in their state will no longer be eligible for federal student loans. Just a note here about administration, one thing that we're watching very closely. As the chancellor noted, the courts have allowed the administration to move forward with the proposal to reduce the staff of the Department of Education by at least 40%. And there are ongoing discussions about further dismantling the department. So it is not yet clear how something this extensive that has never been implemented in any sort of rule form at the federal level would be monitored and implemented. A note that some of our colleagues, particularly in other states, were concerned about that did not end up getting included was something called risk sharing, which is a proposal where institutions of higher education would basically have to have what advocates call skin in the game around repaying a certain share of students' unpaid loans if their incomes fall below a certain amount. That was seen as hostile to particularly four-year universities and ultimately ended up not being included in the final bill. All right, next slide. This is our final slide, and then we're happy to take any questions. As others have noted, Board Member Perry included, there were some significant changes made to social service program eligibility in the budget reconciliation bill, the most high profile being Medicaid and SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as CalFresh, formerly known as food stamps. The Medicaid funding, according to the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, will leave somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 million people uninsured by the year 2034 by adding some significant and what critics have called onerous working requirements. And then similarly for SNAP, significant new expansion of work requirements in a program that, as our board member noted, was already considered quite burdensome, particularly for college students and others like foster youth to access. So we will be monitoring these changes to see how those play out on the campus level, and ensuring that we are coordinating with our colleagues in student services, basic needs centers, and others to do our best to ensure students are able to take advantage of campus-based resources or supports as some of these changes go into effect. And that concludes our presentation. We can take questions on anything.
Thank you very much. We'll take board member questions and comments.
I see Adu and then Perry here,
Excellent.
and then Corral.
Thank you guys so much for your presentation. This is very technical semantics. I just wanted to ask, no Pell Grants for full ride scholarship recipients. How is full ride scholarship defined? Is that a named scholarship, a private scholarship, institutional aid that's need-based, merit-based? Where are those lines drawn?
So I can help here. So under the federal rule or the federal statute, effectively it says it's any state, federal, private, institutional resource when combined. So, so for example, our fee waiver alone would not disqualify a student from a Pell Grant, but potentially if you had our fee waiver plus a scholarship, plus another resource, plus say a Cal Grant, and you add them up and it reaches the cost of attendance, that's where they are drawing the line. So it's pretty open-ended, but it's not just a full ride scholarship. It's pretty open.
I just want to underscore AB 1400 and the important role it plays. I don't know if I would use the term, but Mr. Galicio referred to it as the calcification of a specific process. But I think it's such a good example of serving an extraordinarily important need. We're going to have a shortage of nurses in the state if we don't open up the attainment of a degree process. And so I think that one deserves Lots of highlighting and lots of work from all of us, and I'm very happy to see that we have our chancellor working on it, and happy to be part of that effort and ask my fellow BOG members to help get that one through the door.
Thank you, Member Perry. We'll go to Member Correll, Member Haynes, then Member Epstein.
Thank you for the rundown. I mean, obviously, we don't know the impacts, especially of the budget reconciliation bills. We can only imagine sort of just how negative it's going to be, but we don't know what they are yet. How are you starting to like assess, even just now, what the potential impacts are going to be on the student population, especially parents, students, and or even a potential population as they increase sort of the work and educational requirements for these programs? Like, how are you, what steps or what's your kind of initial assessment? And then I guess I'm wondering, over the long run, how do we keep that in mind to create the kinds of supports that our students or our potential population are going to need? Because it just feels like, as we just talked about Vision 2030, in a moment of great opportunity and us leaning into it, we're also going to be facing just terrible potential social need. And so love your thoughts on that.
Yeah, certainly. We're looking at it from two perspectives. So from the student perspective, we focus primarily on financial aid. And then from the institutional and student perspective, we focus on the programs that are funded with federal resources. So on that side, we get around, from past data in 23-24, it's roughly $450 million in resources from the federal government to operate specific programs. There could be slightly more resources, up to around 200 billion in our data sets through contracts that districts may have for particular programs with the federal government. But overall, we take that to mean that there's around 3% of the total revenue coming to our system is attributable to federal resources supporting those types of programs or contracted efforts. For context, our exposure to changes in federal resourcing is much less than, say, the University of California, which is much closer to around 30% of their overall resources are associated with federal resources or federal programming. On the financial aid front at the moment, we focus on primarily Pell Grants. Very few of our students take out subsidized or unsubsidized loans. So we don't see, it's unlikely that you would see a significant impact from changes in federal loan program on our student population. There could be some, but relative to the overall number of students we serve, it's actually very small. We certainly track that, and we track what those impacts would be. We do view the change in Pell Grant this year to allow for Workforce Pell to be a real benefit for our system and our students. We don't have any modeling at this time as to the number of students we think may become eligible, but we'll certainly be working on that in the coming months. The other piece that we are constantly monitoring on behalf of our system is we monitor the Pell headcounts, because that is a subcomponent of the student-centered funding formula. So we're constantly monitoring any changes to Pell to know, will the changes in federal law increase or negatively impact that metric? And if so, what would that mean for our system? And what changes would we need to work with the legislature on or to consider? However, within that, the way we structure our student-centered funding formula, it's constantly looking back to prior year data. So any changes in the 26-27 year, which is what the federal budget actions just impacted, wouldn't be materialized or seen until 27-28 in our formulas. So we have a level of time to work with our system to understand what those impacts could be and work with the legislature potentially to make any changes. That said, the last thing, and probably the most important as we think about federal resourcing, is just because they put forward an action, just because they put forward a statement, doesn't necessarily mean it's legal. And in this state, certainly there's been quite a bit of litigation around federal actions, whether they're taken by Congress or whether they're taken administratively. We will do all that we can to protect our educational institutions in this state.
Thank you very much. We have Member Haynes, Member Epstein. I saw Member Williams's hand go up and now it's down. So Claire, want to give him the opportunity to speak after that, and then Member Adu.
So thank you. AB, is it AB? AB 90, the parking bill. I think this is the third iteration. And I'm wondering, are there any changes to that? It would be helpful to understand. So as a trustee, one of the issues was just one, the safety and the cost, because it was going to be using the college's parking lots. And then there was a liability piece of that that was very disconcerting relative to being responsible for that. So I'm wondering what is different in this bill that helps to mitigate some of the issues that the colleges and the districts were concerned about.
Yeah. This bill is very similar. I mean, it has, I think the concept's very similar than previous iterations. I think one of the biggest changes with AB 90 is that it requires the boards to take a vote on adopting a plan. I know. And so it does require that by September of next year, each board shall adopt as part of your campus safety plan a proposal for offering overnight parking. It was recently, so the version of this bill required you to vote on it every year until you said yes. So that has been amended and just requires you to take a vote. We monitored the discussion at the last committee hearing in the Senate, and the members, but notably the chair, did recognize that every district is very different. And so her amendment to remove the requirement that you take a vote on this every year and just vote on it once was, to her, according to her, an acknowledgement that every district is different. And so you as a board would vote on what works best for you. How close is your parking lot from your closest restroom? Whether or not you have even a cover over your parking lot. What if you're in high desert or a place where it's very hot or it's raining, it's not physically safe for you to be there? Whether or not you have resources to pay for 24-hour security, increase your, all of those things. So this bill, still as written, has many concerns around cost, student safety, but it does give the boards the ability to vote on whether or not this is something you can take on.
Sorry. So is it a foregone conclusion that the governor, that it's going to get through all of the processes? Or is there still questions that would lead one to believe that there's a chance that
those concerns are still there, and this has been referred to the suspense file. So when the legislature comes back from recess, and so they'll have that discussion. This is probably one of the most costly bills that we're tracking. It was very costly for CSU as well, but they have been amended out of the bill.
Oh, how nice. Okay, thank you.
All right, we have Member Epstein, Member Williams, then Member Adu.
Thank you, President Aguinaldo. I do want to say one thing, is that with the notoriety that my second cousin Jeffrey has been getting lately, I wanted to note for the record that my name is pronounced Epstein, not Epstein.
So noted.
And Linda, I have questions about a couple of them. The 640, AB 648 and 695, could you give me give an update on those two?
So I'll start with AB 648. That's the local zoning exemption bill. I'll start off by sharing that it is sponsored by some of our local colleges, I believe Santa Monica and LA Community College District. It makes some technical changes on what would qualify as a parcel or a housing development zone by land owned by those districts, and intended to eliminate some of the red tape in getting the, eliminating some of the red tape that allows districts to build. It is currently, let me check the status of it. They've gotten some broad support. We're officially in support of that bill, and currently actually on the floor. It wasn't even referred to suspend, so it's on the floor for a vote.
Were community college projects included in the CEQA exemption legislation?
CEQA legislation.
Yeah. The recent trailer bill changes, I would have to check to see if they implicate the colleges or not. It's unclear at the moment, so we'll have to get back to you.
695 got out of Senate Education a few weeks ago and was recently amended to eliminate some of the provisions that we had expressed some concern about, notably requiring the Board of Governors to establish a process by which we would have to verify students' deportation status. So that bill has been amended out of the bill and maintains the current. The original vision of the bill was that it would allow a student who was deported or had to self-deport to maintain their exemption status when they resume studies online. And so that has been kept in the bill, but remove the provisions are on the board. So if a student decides to enroll in an online course, that they keep their non-resident tuition exemption status.
So if someone's deported and they're in another country, that they can still take our online classes and not have to pay a fee.
That's correct, but that they have to verify that they were enrolled at the time of the deportation or that they had self-deported. That was included in the bill, and so they just maintain. It's basically a continuity of education. They maintain their status, just that they're taking the course in another part of the world.
Do we have any idea how many students are impacted?
We don't collect that information and never have. So it's really hard to gauge whether or not we're talking about a handful of students or hundreds.
Yeah, and I would just add for the security of our students, we don't have plans to track that either. Just given that having that information alone by student could be problematic. I would add, most districts, they're not required to recheck your AB 540 status once they've done it originally. So for many of these students, it's really a continuation of what they would expect to see if they wanted to continue from another country. Nothing obligates them to notify their district today that they've been impacted. And if you're accessing online, the college likely wouldn't know where you're accessing from. So they would, in theory, be able to continue. So this bill is an extension of, in many respects, current practice. And it's a current practice available to all non-resident students attending a California community college, not just international students. So it maintains our Prop 209 focus in that it's inclusive and universal.
So if a student was enrolled and then they moved to Kansas, they could continue. Is that what you're saying? They could continue online with the same exemption?
Yeah, effectively, they could continue with that same exception because nothing obligates the college to recheck.
Right.
Great. Thank you, Member Epstein, Member Williams, and then Member Adu.
Thank you. I was curious about AB 3. Can't read my handwriting. It's the one with Fong and the work-based learning. I think it's 323.
That's correct.
Yeah. Do you know what's the likelihood of that one will pass? And then is there funding associated with that one? Are they going to fund districts to be able to provide this paid work-based learning opportunity? And then my other question was, some time ago, the president spoke about education and highly skilled graduates, almost like that being a path to obtain a green card. Has that been codified anywhere, or is that a thing? And then my other thing, it feels like California is situated a bit different than other states as it relates to some of the federal cuts. Is that accurate? It doesn't affect us as much because we put so much state funding, and I'm because then when I'm at ACCT and I'm talking to other trustees from other states, it's like the sky is really falling on them in a way that it seems different for us. And so I just wanted to know, do we have any clean talking points that talks about like how California is like a little different, or am I misunderstanding some of the conversation that's happening nationally?
No, I think California definitely supports its higher education institutions much more so than many other states. There's at least one president, I won't name them, district president, who did come to California when they first shifted over to the state. They met with me in my role at the Department of Finance, and the reason they came here is because of the state support for higher education. In their state, the state was cutting back support for higher ed. They said this was one of the few states that continued to invest time and time again. And what it really comes down to is we have the Proposition 98 guarantee, It assures a certain percentage of revenues are going to go to K-14 education, with a certain percentage of those revenues then flowing through to our community colleges. The state has long held affordability as one of its core premises for our open access institution in the state. We have the lowest tuition in the nation, which means to operate our institutions requires significant state investment, local resource investment. And even on the facilities side, when we pass a local bond, that's supported by local property tax as well. So we have a lot of local and state investment in our system relative to what other states may be seeing. And then lastly, I'd just say it goes back to an earlier comment. We have a size and a scale that no other state in the nation has in terms of the number of colleges or the number of students being served. And it's that size and scale that puts us in a different position than other states as well. So we still draw down federal resources. We do what we can. There will be impacts if those resources aren't available. They just impact our institutions in much different ways than other states who may rely more heavily on loan programs, who may rely more heavily on federal programs to offer student support services on their campuses, or who may be subject to significant tuition rates that they have. The last thing that I would say, Joe, though, just for community colleges nationally is relative to other segments of higher education, we are known and respected for our ability to teach, train, and educate a population that is intended to get good jobs. We're known for getting students into a good position. We are known for having great linkages to industry. And even at the federal level, that's well known, and it puts us in a slightly different position than our four-year universities, who are often at the moment under attack for their various policies. But it's our workforce focus and our outcomes for our students that are well known at the federal level.
And Board Member Williams, to answer your question about AB 323, so the bill is it makes a technical change to existing statute. If this bill is signed, and I joked last week during the consultation council meeting that if I had one wish, or it would be to know what how the governor is going to take action on certain bills, a magic wish in this world, but we just don't know. But this bill is technical in nature. It doesn't request new funds. It doesn't request the creation of a new program. It requests permission to increase the ways in which we can use our existing strong workforce dollars to provide work-based learning opportunities for students. Consequence of that is that we will have to update our guidance to the field around strong workforce, but again, really technical in nature. Because of the minor costs associated with it to implement a bill like this, it is sitting in appropriations. And when the legislature comes back, they'll take action on that bill, and then we'll know whether or not it goes to the governor's desk.
Can we support it, or will we a thumbs down?
We're officially in support of this bill, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great, thank you. We'll take member Adu, and then we'll take public comment.
I hate to kick a horse that hasn't even started writing yet, but in terms of the Pell Grants, it is full, like the definition of full ride is based off of cost of attendance.
Mm-hmm.
How do we calculate cost of attendance right now? And would we be able to change that? Like say, all of a sudden you have to pay $5,000 more for housing just to get them the Pell Grant. Would we be able to do that at all?
Yeah. Go for it.
Cost of attendance is technically speaking, it's typically up to each college. There are certain elements of state law that the legislature has been adding in the past few years to incorporate things like childcare costs and others. But it is a fairly straightforward formula that includes housing, whether it's on campus, off campus. It takes into account the student status, whether they're a dependent, whether they're living alone, living with family, and then it adds in costs for things like food, transportation, and so forth. I appreciate the creativity. I'm going to put on my hat as a member of the California Student Aid Commission here and just say that it's probably not the best idea for states to start tinkering with that because the federal government has a pretty powerful lever called Title IV funding, which if they determine that a state has gone outside of the federal regulations and rules around cost of attendance, they can rule individual institutions, or I'm guessing with this administration, they could just go for a whole state or system. I mean, it's never happened before, but a lot of things have never happened before January 2025 that are now happening. So they could rule, and large swaths of California no longer eligible for federal aid.
Okay, and then just one more thing. Instead of like maybe cost of attendance, there's things like, for example, at Berkeley, you can request, I think, 2,500 for like new technology fees, and that is like something that's been established. Is that something we could set up where it wouldn't be going outside of that?
So we're able to, financial aid officers are able to use what's called professional judgment, or PJ, in the language that they speak, the jargon that they speak with one another, on a case-by-case basis for students, right? If they determine that an individual student's costs of technology purchases, family care, childcare, et cetera, go above and beyond, they can do that. However, there's not really a mechanism for doing it, broadly. And that is, as far as we know, something that, again, the Department of Education might take a very critical eye of. It is intended to be done on a case-by-case basis. Yeah.
Thank you very much, members. At this time, we'll take public comment.
The public comment period on item 5.2 is now open. You will have 2 minutes. There are no public comments in Sacramento. President Aguinaldo, are there any in Denver?
There are none here.
Member Brown?
None here.
Member Williams?
None.
Member De La Fuente?
None here.
Thank you, and there are no hands raised.
Great. Thank you very much, Andrea. Board, we are elated to move to item 5.1, which is our annual Student Senate update. And we're welcoming our Student Senate for California Community Colleges leadership to present to us. We have Yvonne Hernandez, who's our past president, as well as Jerry Reyes, who is the current president. So welcome, Yvonne and Jerry.
Wonderful. Testing, testing. Can you all hear me in person?
We can.
Awesome. Well, first and foremost, good afternoon, everyone. Chancellor Christian, President Aguinaldo, esteemed Board of Governors members. My name is Ivan Hernandez, and I am honored to be here as the 2024 to 2025 Student Senate for California Community Colleges President. I am also joined by Jerry Reyes, who is the current president and will be able to introduce and talk about himself and the goals of the organization later down the presentation. With that, can we move forward to the next slide? Awesome. First and foremost, SSCCC continues its long-standing commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And with that, this year, we had the honor of working with the LGBTQ+A community to create our 6th annual Anti-Racism, a Student Plan of Action chapter, which focuses on learning about this community, their struggles that they face in the classroom, and how we as a system can continue to support this community and, of course, all of our different underserved students to feel welcome and included in the classroom conversation. Next slide. We also want to thank every single one of our statewide partners and coalitions. To start off, we would like to continue thanking Faculty Association for all their support that they have been able to provide us, Academic Senate, California Community College Student Affairs Association, also known as CISA, the ARPIC Group, and the CSSA and UCSA, representing the CSU and UC students respectively. They have been an amazing partner, and I'm very grateful that throughout my time as president, I was able to grow along each one of them. I also received feedback from each one of our board members who were very happy that their voice was taken seriously, and it wasn't so much of just coming from the student perspective, but they each one treat us equally in the decision-making space. Moreover, we're very happy that we created new relationships with Umoya, Puente, and A2Men, which we actually worked together and collaborated on a series of webinars focused on solidarity, especially after the Trump administration. And each one of them was targeted to their respective communities, coming in from the students, coming in from our Black African American community, our Latino, Hispanic community, and just in general, continuing the work of solidarity, especially in these difficult times where many of our students are currently being negatively affected. Moreover, we collaborated with Student Learn, a Student Vote Coalition, empowering students to get ready for the local, state, and national elections coming up. And we recently joined the U.S. Student Association, which is the official representative of all undergraduate students throughout the well, not the state, more like the national level. We're very happy to collaborate closely with the students from Washington State, Texas, Florida, New York, and many other amazing states that are actively fighting against some of the current policies that are being in place against the students and our freedom. And happy to say SSCCC is actively part of this movement. Moreover, we were very lucky to attend many of the conferences hosted by our partners. Once again, we attended the Faculty Association Advocacy and Policy Conference. We attended the Academic Senate Faculty and Student Leadership Institute. We attended the California Community College Student Leadership Conference and Advisor Professional Development Sessions. In each one of these conferences, we felt welcome. We felt like our voices were truly being taken into account, and it was an amazing learning opportunity, both personally and professionally, for all of our students to continue learning more about the different career paths that each one of the attendees had and how we as students could continue supporting this movement. Next slide, please. Wonderful. We're also very happy to have provided trainings to our student body associations, which are we refer to as the local student governments in all different community colleges throughout the state. We did this both in person and online and provided training from technical such as Brown Act and Parley Pro to also more personal, whether that was conflict management or professional career. We try our best to empower our students as much as we could. We also hosted Advocacy Academy, which was our fall event in which we had over 400 students joining us. And it was wonderful, especially because I heard testimonials from attendees who did not really know if they belonged into the system, and two, how they can make an effort. And once they were surrounded by like-minded individuals, they felt like that was an amazing opportunity for them to join and make an impact. And many of them, I'm happy to say, are now current board members. So it all began at this conference, and I really have enjoyed seeing the growth from each one of our members. Moreover, we also attended the Student Trustee Retreat. Once again, thank you so much to our CCLC partners for allowing us the opportunity to continue partnering with them and empowering the student trustees, especially given that they have a high demanding job representing thousands of students in their local districts. Of course, we need to talk about General Assembly being our largest event of the year. This year, we had over 800 different students, passed over 90 different resolutions, had amazing keynote speakers, and in general, it felt really good to be at this conference, especially not to be biased, I was the chair, but I felt like it was very smooth, it was a good process, and certainly great friendships came out of this conference. Moreover, the students as well as our own staff members had been able to support advisors, whether those that had been around the system for quite some years or new ones, in understanding better the student perspective, especially now that things have been moving quite drastically over the last few years. And we are very happy that our vision is not just focused within our students, but also those that are effectively impacting students in the classroom and outside of it. We also had the honor of attending national conference such as NCORE, the National Conference on Race and Ethnicity, HACU, Hispanic Association for Colleges and Universities, and EWA, which is the Education Writers Association. Each one of these allow us the opportunity to showcase some of the work that SSCCC and quite frankly, the state of California is doing, especially in these difficult times. And we found that each one of the attendees were very surprised, but also empowered to bring in what they learned from our perspective to their respective states, primarily those that are smaller and in the Midwest. In each one of these events, our focus has been on advocacy, equity, leadership skills, and amplifying the student voice one way or the other. And we're very happy that each one of our board members did an amazing job at each one of these different events. Next slide. Now, we have been able to strengthen our local engagement with our students, advisors, and faculty through regional engagement, and that is with each one of our regional board members as well as our student interns. Every time we had a board meeting, we hosted a campus visit on Friday where we will provide trainings and we will try to get a sense of what the specific what that specific student body association wanted from us, and we will provide our training tailored to them, but also we will conduct business during meetings so they can get a sense of what it feels like to be at the decision-making space, and their input was greatly appreciated all throughout. We're very happy that through a combination of both online and in person, we visited over 80 different community colleges in the state of California, which is over 50% of all different community colleges that we serve in the state. We also had a very good 92% student rate retention, which is way better than what we have in the past. And I found that we have this because our students see the value in the work that we're doing. Certainly, we have not always been in this state, but clearly it only shows that it can get better from here. And I'm very grateful that all of our students that chose to join from the beginning remain until the end. And all in all, this helped us increase visibility, access, and student involvement in each one of the decision-making processes we took throughout the year. Next slide. Now, when it comes down to legislature, our legislative priorities this year focus on access, equity, and student success. We're very grateful to have sponsored AB 409, which focused on student government participation, and co-sponsor SB 271, which is the child care and financial aid resources, SB 98, which is immigration officer notifications, SB 323, which is California Dream Act updates, AB 323, pay work-based learning, and AB 537, California College Promise Grant, among many other bills that we supported as well as we opposed. Throughout the state, we're very happy to have launched and hosted the 2025 Advocacy Day and March in March, which attracted over 600 different participants in Sacramento, our state capital. And we also hosted over 150 different student legislator meetings, which was very impactful. And I just want to share some quotes. Many of our students leaders felt like their voice was not always taken into account until they were at those spaces. And they felt like the legislators were actively hearing to them, and they also were able to practice and put into action all the different things they had learned up to this point. Now, when it comes down to the federal advocacy, we also were able to be joined by many of you and all of our different system partners in earlier this year in February through the Washington, D.C. legislative visits. Once again, thank you to the board and Chancellor's office for allowing us the opportunity to be there. It was definitely a life-changing experience. Moreover, we also have collaborated through national coalition participation, which once again feels good to know that at every part of the decision-making process, the student voice is always being taken into account. And then lastly, but definitely not least, all of our advocacy focus on financial aid, undocumented student support, and basic needs, reflecting some of the current challenges that we're seeing, not only this year, but within the next few years as well. Next slide. Now, I just want to echo that we had successfully been able to work on some of our major strategic plan goals, and also say also our strategic plan has actually come to an end by the end of my term, 2025. And now SSCCC is currently looking into creating a new strategic plan that reflects some new goals and also some areas of improvement as we continue moving forward. But I want to echo that we were able to launch student engagement campaigns. We were able to redesign our website. In case you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to take a look at our website and provide us feedback. How can we make it better and more accessible for all of our different students? We also have been able to increase our stakeholder regular updates. This takes a minute, but so far we have over 10,000 different students who are able to receive updates, whether that is weekly and or monthly. We also have been able to add some new members to our team, both from the staff and intern perspective. Have developed even a wider variety of trainings that could be delivered both in person and online, depending on the preference of the different student body associations. We double the size of our General Assembly, ranging from 400 to 800 different students. Once again, as I said previously, we had a good retention of over 92%, which originally the goal was just 80%. And then we train over 150 students for advocacy roles through the different events we had, and whether that was one-on-one locally and or through the conferences, and co-sponsor key state bills advancing equity and student rights while maintaining relationship with over 30 plus legislative offices. All to say, this is an area of improvement, and one of the areas that we would like to focus on moving forward is the participatory governance appointments, since sometimes it's not always easy to get students that want to participate in some of our participatory shared governance, but certainly this is definitely an area that we, and I'm sure our current president, Jerry, will focus on this current year. Next slide. In terms of some finance, currently our net asset is $3.2 million. Most of our funding comes from the student fees, which is roughly $2.2 million, but also from conferences fee, which is a little over $300,000. Our investments are specifically focused on ESG focus investments, which is roughly $3.4 million. And roughly 82% of all our expenses go towards our student programs, which is reflecting good from a nonprofit. And of course, the vision of our organization is to give back as much as we have. The minimal admin cost is roughly $11,000, and we do have over $3.6 million on liquid asset. Over the last few years, we had been in good standing in terms of audit by Gilbert CPAs, which is the CPA firm that we had been working on over the last few years. So all in all, we're in good, healthy status at the moment. But of course, as we continue expanding, we have newer goals and newer visions, and some of them require us to think very strategically on how we can use our resources to support the majority of our students as much as we can. Next slide. So very quickly, our summary. All in all, we were able to expand our statewide visibility and regional engagement, both locally through student associations, but also statewide and nationally, which was one of my personal goals. We also were able to elevate the student voice through legislation and advocacy. I think now legislative offices know who we are, and they reach out to us and take us very seriously, which clearly shows that we have been doing a good job. We also have been focused on some diversity, equity, and inclusion empowerment areas, now more than ever, given currently our administration that we have. Many of our students are extremely concerned about this area, and we just want to make sure that they feel supported all throughout the process. We also have been able to advance student leadership and campus partnerships, which is still a work in progress, but clearly very proud of all the work that we've done. We have committed to amplifying student voice through different capacities. And of course, we're ensuring that students are able to shape the California higher education, whether that is here within the community colleges or also in the next steps that they choose to move. So with that said, before I hand it over to Jerry, just wanted to say thank you for the flexibility. I know this is usually in person. I'm currently working in New York City, but I wanted to say thank you to you all for all the support I received this past year. And thank you, Chancellor's Office. Your help was undoubtedly one of the best. But with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jerry to talk about some of the goals for this current year.
All right, good afternoon, Chancellor's Office. Can you all hear me? Okay, good afternoon, Board of Governors. Thank you for having me here. My name is Jerry Reyes. I am the president for this year. I'm a student at Reedley College, and I'm just so excited to be here. For today, I'll be going over some of the goals that we have in mind for SSCCC. And so it's listed on the slide. So external facing, a focus, legislative priorities and resolution implementation, regional engagement and collaboration, and SSCCC on the national stage. So for the external facing focus, we want to strengthen our outreach with our students by meeting them where they're at. So going to their regions, going to their student body association meetings or campuses and connecting with them, and just promoting, that regional collaboration. And then for our legislative priorities and resolution implementation, as you heard earlier from President Hernandez, he did mention that we had a historic 90 resolutions that were presented at the General Assembly, which means that this year we have a huge task in making sure that our resolutions are not only being acknowledged, but also making sure that we're working on them effectively. And so I'm excited for that challenge. And yeah, advancing student-led, student-centered legislation and ensuring effective implementation of our resolutions. And then when it comes to regional engagement and collaboration, similar to the first goal, but in the sense that we'll be expanding our regional engagement by, empowering SBAs and fostering cross-regional collaboration. I've already seen from our board right now, a lot of student leaders are working amongst each other, talking about what we can do for the regions. And so I'm just excited to see everyone wanting to do that work, especially right now during the summer. Everyone wants to take the summer off, but our student leaders are ready to go. They're excited. So I'm excited to see that. And then SSCCC on the national stage, as President Hernandez also mentioned, we did attend some national conferences. And so I think at this point on, we're ready to take on the next challenge, which is reaching with our counterparts from different states. The board did pass a resolution to officially join as a member of the United States Student Association. So we're very excited to collaborate with them this year. And just in general, elevate our national presence throughout, federal advocacy, partnerships, and leadership in the student lens. And I'm also excited to announce that we are going to be holding a federal advocacy event in Washington, D.C. this year. So not only will you see SSCCC hard at work in California, but we'll also be working on the national stage and, being that leading voice for all the other student associations as well. And with that being said, these are the 2025-26 goals for the year. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is pretty simple. It's just president@ssccc.org. And yeah, thank you for having me here.
Thank you very much to the both of you. It's such a pleasure to see such exponential growth and advancement in the SSCCC's work every single year. So I will also validate the fact that your new website is wonderful and very impressive. So I encourage everyone to hop on that website when they're able to. So with that, I'll take some board comments.
We have Levadu.
I just want to start off by saying thank you guys for your presentation. Yvonne, it's great to see a familiar face. I want to take a moment to express the appreciation I have for the work that the Student Senate does, particularly with the events. I've been able to attend many of your Board of Directors meetings, General Assembly, for example, in which I had the opportunity to speak with alongside former board member Casey Chang, and it definitely has been one of the more grounding experiences I've had on this board. Watching SSCCC grow over the course of my time in community college, both in its advocacy and in its leadership development for its students, it's been really impactful, and you all consistently show up for students across the state, and the fruits of that labor is indicative of how important it is to have student perspectives in spaces like these. I also, with that being said, want to encourage SSCCC to continue investing in regional engagement and finding new ways to reach students that may not always be able to make it to a meeting in person or virtually. Their voices matter just as much, and making sure that we have them in those spaces is essential to building student movement that is inclusive and representative of all of our students. I also especially want to thank outgoing President Yvonne Hernandez, who welcomed me with open arms the first time I went to a meeting as a board member. Your leadership has definitely left a real mark. And Jerry, let's just say you have some big shoes to fill, so good luck for that. And I have no doubt that you'll be able to do that. Thank you all for all that you do.
Thank you, Member Adu. Any other board comments?
We have, Tom Epstein.
Hi, I just want to say, first of all, this is a great report, and it's amazing how far you guys have come in such a short period of time to have such a strong organization doing all these different things with a solid budget. I think it's a real testament to the leadership that the students have shown, and the impact that they're starting to have on policy and in helping students. I had one question. In the budget part, it says that your administrative costs are $11,000 on a budget of $3.5 million, and typically, you know, staff is counted as administrative costs and computers and stuff. How are you guys evaluating what the administrative costs are?
Great question. I can take a quick step at it. So certainly the 11,000 is just more on the sort of like software that we use. Clearly, I think it's roughly 20 something percent, and I can go back into the logistics, but more like 20. No, it's more like 8%. I need to take a look clearly at the numbers, but our staff members, such as our executive director and all the different individuals that help us, do play a role into the process, and it's an investment that we have into the day-to-day operations. At the 11,000 in there, I need to check back with our staff, just because I know I was being in the East Coast, the collaboration has been a little off, but that's a question that basically all to say our day-to-day cost operation is greater than 11,000 for sure. I will need to get back to you, and I think if our executive director is online, I can give you some exact numbers in just a second.
No, I don't really need to know. It's just an accounting issue. I think that something got lost in translation there, just for the record.
All right, Bill, any other comments in Sacramento?
Pam just raised her hand, so Member Haynes.
Sorry. I just think it's really important that all of the costs administratively are reflected. But I also want to back up and say the Student Senate has really grown in these last few years, and you should be commended because, you know, it's not easy going into these positions, and but it also reflects just how committed our students are and how much they are willing to participate and engage and sit at the table helping to make decisions in their interest, but also in the interest of their fellow students who cannot be there. So I just want to say thank you so, so much. You guys are doing a fabulous job.
Chancellor Christian.
Just a quick comment. Yvonne, you've been an outstanding president. I know we've had some difficult terrain that you've been navigating on the federal landscape front. I've always been amazed at your ability to really represent the variety of different voices that are the California Community College student body. So wishing you all the best. And it's been truly an honor working with you. And Jerry, we look forward to working very closely with you. Thank you.
Great, excellent. I just wanted to flag also that on your fancy new website are your financial reports. So I think one of those lines is talking about how your total expenses are actually 1.1 million. So there are a couple zeros missing there, but the general numbers are there. But thank you very much to you both. We look forward to working with you and collaborating with you more as we welcome Jerry into the fold. And I completely agree with Member Adu that you have enormous shoes to fill, but I think you're in good shape, Jerry. You're doing great. All right, so we'll take some public comments now.
The public comment period on item 5.1 is now open. You will have 2 minutes. There are no comments in Sacramento. President Aguinaldo, are there any in Denver?
None in Denver.
Member Brown?
None.
Member Williams?
None.
Member De La Fuente?
None.
Thank you, and there are no hands raised.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Andrea. We will move to item 5.3, which is board member reports. So I will hear from board members who have something to share at this time.
So I see currently Member Haynes, then Member Perry, if I'm not mistaken, Heather. Right, those two first.
All right, so thank you. I just want to introduce my granddaughter, Catherine from Virginia. She's here in California because she just finished a 2-week program. Stand up, Catherine. What? She went to the restroom? Like what? Where is she? Go get her. You can do yours. Okay.
I have two immediate reports on myself. One is I'm thanking Vice Chancellor David O'Brien for providing the correct information on the impact of the Pell Grants. So thank you for that. I was wrong. I had old information on the credits. So that's number one. And number two is I did not pronounce Vice President Rawlings' name incorrectly. I called him the wrong name when I spoke. For some reason, I called you Member Higgins. And I don't know if I was channeling My Fair Lady in the middle of the meeting, but I apologize for that. Good. I knew I shouldn't have said anything. Anyway, so that's my two mea culpas. And then my other one is I just want to thank the league for the opportunity for the chancellor and I had the opportunity to speak to them. And it was really wonderful to be able to do that and see the committed members of the leagues and be able to spend some moments with them. And now Pamela, hopefully.
So thank you. So my granddaughter's timing is impeccable. She leaves before I get a chance to introduce her. This is Catherine Bailiff, of Virginia. She lives in Virginia with her parents, and they released her to come to California. She's 17, going into her senior year, and so she was at UC Davis for their high school pre-med program, and anyway, so her grandmother has had chance to hold on to her. We went to Muir Woods yesterday. I've tried to put her in front of all of the people I know. And so, and you're part of all the people I know. Anyway, so welcome, Catherine.
And then we have a member Adu.
This is just while I have all of you in the room. I realized last time I mentioned this, it was in closed session, so a good chunk of people did not hear. I just wanted to tell people that I'm transferring to UC Berkeley. So, so if you have any advice on how to survive, please let me know. Thank you.
We will need to connect you with our former board members, student board members who've led the way for you. So that's great. And none other here in Sacramento.
Right. Such wonderful developments. Pam, it's always a pleasure to meet more members of our community college family. So good luck to Catherine and good luck to everyone on their studies. Member Adu, on yours as well. It's just such a pleasure to see everyone continue to do big things. All right, let's move to item 6. Oh, I think I need to take public comment. Andrea, let's take public comment.
We don't need to take public comment on board reports.
Okay. Item 6.1 then is the public comment. So at this time, we'll take public comments for the public forum.
Public forum is now open. You will have 2 minutes. We have not received any comments in Sacramento. President Aguinaldo, are there any in Denver?
None, ma'am.
Member Brown?
None.
Thank you. Member Williams?
None.
Thank you. Member De La Fuente?
None.
Thank you. And we do have one hand raised, so I will hand it over to Gary.
Laura Zabo-Kubitz, you have control of your mic and can address the board.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. I'm Laura Zabo-Kubitz with the California Alliance for Student Parent Success. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the recently enacted Gains for Student Parents Act, which supports student parents in affording, enrolling in, and completing college. Specifically, the gains that
Oh, no.
Oh, we lost her.
Let's give her a second to pop on. Let's wait a minute.
Just so you know, President Aguinaldo, I believe that was also the written comment that was provided this morning and is available to the public out in the lobby.
Okay, excellent.
I haven't seen her log back in, and we do not have any other hands raised at this time.
Okay. Well, we do have her written comments in the lobby, so if folks need other access to it, please let somebody know, but it is available in the lobby. All right. Team, dare I say that we finished ahead of schedule, which almost never happens at our meetings. So I'm very proud to say that the time is 12:39 Pacific time, and the business of the Board of Governors has concluded. Thank you, everyone. Have a great summer. Please get some rest because we have a really busy fall ahead of us. So thank you again. Take good care.